This is a Clouds weather alert.
Good Friday afternoon, everybody. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. We're now tracking 3 severe thunderstorm warnings in play. These storms are looking more nasty here over just the last little bit. So there's also a tornado watch in play in the bright yellow. And that's till 7 o'clock tonight. So we got to really remain alert here for these storms. There we go. Tornado warned here at times this afternoon. So I'm going to be in the Weather Center to provide with the latest updates. I know right now let's go up toward Albany. We'll start off with that severe storm cluster there. Severe thunderstorms located along a line extending from 7 miles southwest of Selman to near Leary, moving northeast at about 45 miles an hour. 60-mile-an-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail, a possibility in that area. And then as we get down toward Tipton, we have another storm there that looks like it could be a hail producer. Severe thunderstorm action there. Warning from north central Cook, southwestern Irwin, northwestern Berrien, northeastern Colquitt, Tiff, and southeastern Worth until 2 o'clock. 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail, also possible with that activity. And then a third warning that eventually could track, that accident could track toward Tallahassee. This is a warning here. Some of it's out of our covered area at this point, but parts of it are in our region, and there's a tornado possible tag on this as well. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Jackson, northeastern Bay, Calhoun, northwestern Liberty, and northwestern Gadsden until 2:15 Eastern, 1:15 Central. So we need to be on alert here for a quickly developing tornado here. As you see the rotation tracker on Youngstown, I just got to be ready to take precautions here this afternoon. As we're watching this situation very carefully, you can see what we're talking about if you look pretty carefully there. I'll take off the watch fill real quick though to kind of make it a little bit easier here. On this map, you can see the brighter yellows. That's about some low rotation here that's really showing up. I know we have a scale for that, but it'd be kind of hard to explain here on the air overall, as it actually did weaken on out some though in the latest frames. That's some good news too outside of our area. As we look toward Tiff County there and Tifton, you can see here some rotation. I'm going to be trying to move in there, and then you have some accent up maybe toward Dawson there. Some weak rotation too. Not enough for a tornado warning as of yet, but that could always change pretty quickly. Also a significant weather advisory now toward Gadsden County. Some rotation there. Things are getting going pretty quickly here on this Friday afternoon. I know I do have our Tallahassee Radar pulled up, so let me go ahead and switch on over to that now as we're getting an update on the warning up to the north there. The Tiff County warning is canceled out Colquitt and Worth, but they're still continuing it for everybody else here for the hail and wind potential. So let me go ahead and switch on over right now. You can see some storminess off toward the west of Tallahassee. We're talking about a severe thunderstorm located 18 miles west of Blountstown there, moving east at about 40 miles an hour. You can see here we do have some brighter colors showing up, some reds and greens, so some rotation, but not enough for a tornado warning yet. But this will be moving to our area here shortly, not in our area yet though. So let's go ahead and kind of focus on some of the action that is in our area. As we do see around Thomasville, you can see here we do have some heavier rain moving through toward that area. Not warned at the moment, but gusts it looks like they're up to maybe about 50 miles an hour could end up being possible there. Actually, this is for 40 miles an hour. Is trying to show another. For some reason, it's trying to combine these, but there's an advisory for gusts to 40 with this accident on Thomasville now. The accent off toward the west also maybe for the potential for gusts up to 40, but we have some different alerts in here trying to kind of add them together. But you kind of get the idea as we look up toward the north here, toward Albany. It's not going to show up as good on this radar, obviously, but there's some stronger wind potential moving in. We haven't had any reports yet of damaging winds here with the redevelopment of the accident. Now, we did have some big problems this morning out toward Mobile, though. I know I had some big problems there in some spots. So let me switch radar to actually at this point now. Our systems tell me that Robbins Air Force Base radar may be a little bit closer. So that's something to kind of bear in mind. And it is showing some stronger winds here, potentially moving up toward, areas in Terrell County and Lee County, but then also up toward Albany as well. So got to be mindful of that here. At least we don't have anything tornado warned yet, but that could change at a moment's notice, obviously, as we look back over toward Tifton now. Not going to see that storm is good over there, but I know we're continuing to watch things very carefully provide with the latest information here this afternoon. I know things are getting going pretty rapidly. You see here in the brighter colors indicative of some winds maybe closer to 60 miles an hour. Now we're looking pretty high above the surface here, so we don't know exactly where it's reaching, but I know, again, they had issues toward Mobile, a building collapse, a store collapse there during the night. Overall, it seemed like the damage was kind of isolated in nature, but still significant where it did occur there in a couple spots around Mobile. So something to kind of keep in mind as we're watching these storms here this afternoon to see how things get going, because our parameters are there, and we have to be kind of mindful here of how storms could end up getting their act together. So let me go ahead and switch on over right now to where I have our tornado parameters pulled up. They're not anything like what we were seeing yesterday, day before, really, as we were looking out toward the west there in Oklahoma. I mean, that's the good news. But I know there actually are a couple tornado warnings in the country. There's a tornado watch here until 7 Eastern, 6 Central, and that's in that yellow outlined area, yellow enclosed area here at this point, if you want to call it that. Includes Macon and Tallahassee, Valdosta. But as we get to the north, we actually have a couple tornado warnings, one in North Carolina, northwest of Charlotte, including Hickory, North Carolina. Some radar indicated rotation moving in that direction. And then we also have a tornado warning here for areas there in toward parts of Tennessee. Or excuse me, actually this is for parts of Kentucky now. We did have a warning for Tennessee just a little while ago, but this one's actually in toward Kentucky. I know other storms though, like one south of Knoxville, could go tornado warning at any point. And as we say that, you see a yellow area that's popped up. That's a new tornado watch for this area now until it looks like about 8 p.m. tonight. So this is going to be a tornado watch until 8 p.m. So the threat increasing up here now. Knoxville, Greenville, Charlotte, Chattanooga. Looks like they're just barely in that as well. Even areas just north of Atlanta getting into that too. So you kind of get the idea. Some tornado threats emerging. No tornado warnings yet in our coverage area. We did have one out toward areas around Bay County earlier on this afternoon or this morning, if you want to think about it like that, because they're in the central time zone. But I know that was issued there looking back around 11:01 Central for parts of Bay and Washington counties. But again, continuing to keep you guys advised here this afternoon with the very latest information. We do have multiple warnings on the board right now. So let me see where we want to go with this at the present time. We'll go back on over toward the radar here. Let's get down a little bit on this as we can kind of see here some of this wind potential on our DR level 3 computer. You can see around Leary. We're seeing some winds that could be in that 60 range, though it's not co-located at all. And the radar coverage isn't great up here, so that's kind of an issue sometimes. And you can see how they turned the warning back. So I think the highest wind potential would be more here as we're getting south of State Road 62. There may be some of that there, or even in that general vicinity. Now, again, the radar coverage is not good up here, and that is not helpful. But as we're looking here toward the west of US 82, we're watching some action here, as well as I go between some of our different sources. Obviously, you saw in the background there, part of that tornado watch that's in Plato 7 locally. But again, let's switch over to a different radar. We're going to try our Fort Rucker radar here at this point. I think it'd be a little bit better to pick things out on that. I know our system was telling us that radar's a little closer at Robbins Air Force Base, but probably for Albany, this radar may be closer. It just goes off the polygon, so got to bear that in mind as well. So I'm going to switch sources here real quick as we continue to watch things. We do see a little bit of broad rotation here southwest to Albany. So we got to watch for a quick spin-up tornado with little warning here just because of the nature of things here with the environment. You can see how that's co-located better here. I would think the height is better on this here. We won't be looking up quite as high in this general spot with the beam height. Yeah, we're a lot closer down, only about 5,500 feet. So again, going to continue to watch things here. Continue to watch the situation. Make sure we don't get a quick spin-up tornado into Albany. So I just got to continue to track this. This is showing winds at 58 miles an hour right now. Again, a little lower down, so definitely could have some wind damage concerns here as we look in this general spot. I mean, it could be a little bit broader than this, obviously, but just trying to kind of circle an area that we're kind of seeing with some enhancement in it And again, it could have a spin up even a little bit further toward the north, but you have the wind going in opposing directions. So got to continue to watch things toward Doherty County there. Zooming back out, I just see one of our warnings went away. I believe they've gone ahead and, yeah, you can see how the message is not there anymore. So they've gone ahead and disregarded here that warning now as no longer in effect because the threat has weakened on down there toward Tipton. So that's some good news. But let's get back to some other maps here. So we have 2 warnings on the board right now locally. Let's go back to the broad perspective here. Let's go back over to that. We'll kind of get an idea of what's going on here. Again, you see the temperatures are very warm and we have some of that shear around. And when you get that mix, that's a problem, obviously, here on this Friday afternoon. Normally in May, you kind of move away from that tornado threat similar to more organized severe weather. But today it's a different story. Really got to remain on guard here. Gotta be careful this afternoon. So just kind of stay tuned for the very latest information. I know I do have street level mapping pulled up now on our GR level 3 source. Let me go over to that right there, State Route 62. But also as I kind of go back here and go between a few images, just north of that, maybe we could be seeing something above. And with the movement here off toward the north and east at 45 miles an hour, this could be near Cypress Pond Drive here in moments, Montana Drive. Just kind of looking here at the trajectory overall. That's something to kind of watch for here on the south side of Albany. So again, got to continue to track this, continue to monitor things very carefully. We'll kind of see how this updates here in a moment. I'll go back, but it's going to skip some frames on us. Yeah, actually it skips too many for what I want to do, but when we get the latest update, we'll kind of be able to track that movement here a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and check on some things here on our other source. We'll go ahead and see what we're looking at. It seems like the winds are a little bit weaker on the latest scan in terms of any type of circulation, but again, things can change rapidly in this environment here that we're dealing with. So, I mean, maybe we'll get lucky here and things will kind of interfere with each other and kind of weaken storms out, but I just got to continue to watch things very carefully here as I check the latest scans. I'm going to try to trace some stuff here with our winds. So let me go ahead and do that now. Just trying to give you guys an idea of where things are headed really here in the coverage. So let me go ahead and kind of save something on radar scope that I just drew. You'll be able to kind of get an idea of where the wind is, and it's kind of in here right now. It's off toward the south and west, so it's headed right in toward Albany here. The wind potential, granted, we don't know if there's maybe a stronger or weaker potential at the surface than what the radar is showing. It's winds to about 60. Looking high up, granted, it's not as high up on Fort Rucker, closer to 5,000 feet, but that's still enough where you can't guarantee you're going to know what's happening at the surface there. I mean, in a lot of situations, you can't really guarantee that, but it makes it a little bit harder to know if maybe you get a quick spin up, or if the winds are a little bit weaker, maybe. We haven't had any reports in yet, but that can change rapidly. Don't take any chances in Albany there in Doherty County this afternoon. It's a thunderstorm warning in play here until about 2:15. So let me go ahead and switch back on over now. Our other mode, continuing the coverage right now. Again, that's actually a little bit stronger there now, closer toward some of these different roads in there. I'm not 100% sure on how to pronounce this road here, but I'm going to try my best. Aristides Road, maybe. That could be how you pronounce that. If you kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about, then that's where the strongest wind is right now. They're in toward this area, so apologize if I mispronounced that. I probably did there, but sometimes you'll do that on these street level maps here as we're getting down the roads. I mean, obviously you don't know about every road here in the covered area. That's just the way it is sometimes here in severe weather coverage. But again, I'm going to continue to watch things, continue to monitor things. And that's about the only road out there, so I wanted to go ahead and point that out. Actually getting a little bit of circulation to come back again, it looks like, here in the latest scans. So that's some gate-to-gate showing up. Maybe not enough for a tornado warning yet, but we are going to be getting a weaker rotational signature because we're looking higher up, more than likely. And that's definitely looking tighter, stronger now. at least in terms of the winds on our other radar. And since this is heading to Albany, I don't want to take any chances here. We're going to stay with this through Albany at least. We may not cover all these severe thunderstorm warnings here continuously like this. It might wrap things up for a little bit, regroup even with the stream. But we want to make sure we're watching Albany because a tornado warning could get issued on this. With a tornado watch in play, obviously that means a tornado could develop with little or no advanced warnings. So we got to be really careful here in Dougherty County. So again, you see that area there, right in there. That is some concerning velocity signatures. We just got a new scan in, it looks like. So some of the worst of this now, as we get in really tight there, you can kind of see what we're talking about. We have some strong winds showing up. Granted, we're not sure what's happening to the surface, but the other radar was kind of supporting this to some extent as well, a little bit higher up. So that's kind of helpful to know sometimes. I'll scrub a little up here, and yeah, we're seeing stronger higher up here for sure. That might mean we have a situation where things aren't quite as strong down to the surface then as the radar is showing, but with that enhancement, maybe the stronger winds at least are within the area we're highlighting on tilt 1 of the Doppler radar. So I know there's multiple radar tilts. That's something here that we look at in the Doppler radar technology. So again, going to continue to watch that. Just want to make sure we don't get a tornado warning issue here. That's why I'm sticking with it. Wouldn't always do this here, but just want to make sure we don't get a tornado warning issue when this gets to a higher populated area. It's right on the edge of radar, so the best viewpoints, we're looking 5,800 feet up now. So watching that, let's get back down to the south here to see what's going on west of Tallahassee, because this will eventually become a bigger story potentially here as we look toward the Big Bend. This is not in the Big Bend quite yet, but it's headed there. It's headed there over the next little bit as we're tracking things this afternoon with the warning to 2:15. Eventually an issue for Tallahassee, probably, possibly, severe even. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. But again, I'm going to watch things. I know the latest scan kind of weakened things out a little bit toward Albany, but don't let your guard down by any stretch of the imagination here. Make sure you continue to watch things very carefully here this afternoon. And then go back down now toward the south on radar scope. You can see what we're dealing with here toward Bluntstown. This looks a little bit weaker off the Tallahassee radar at least. Granted, let's check the radar off to the west, the Eglin. Yeah, that's not showing that strong there. I mean, 40 miles an hour, not as significant maybe as it could be. Let's put a loop on it. We'll see. And we had more of a circulation at higher speeds a moment ago, but could re-strengthen again. This may be headed more toward Gadsden County even here. They kind of watch this in the looping motion with some of the stronger wind potentials. We switch back on over to the normal radar viewpoint. Maybe lifting up to the north a little bit. So that'd be something to watch there as we're looking up maybe more toward Gadsden County, even though I would think at least part of Leon would be clipped by the axe in here for sure. We'll have to just continue to watch the trajectory of this. Let me put our storm tracks on. So bear with me. You see some flashes from time to time. You can kind of see our tracks here. This will be our automated system showing that. So something like this with that track. So obviously maybe still getting some of that in toward Leon County as well. But we'll continue to watch that here and provide with the very latest. So let's go back on over again as we continue with things. It's 1:52 on this Friday afternoon, May 6, 2022. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. It could be a pretty long day here of coverage. Hopefully we don't have to just stay with this for hours and hours, and we'll get breaks in here. But if we do, we'll be with you to guide you through everything, because that's what we do here. But let me go ahead and switch back on over. Let me go ahead and switch back on over right now to our other mode. I'm just checking here to see where we want to go with this. Bear with me. I'm just checking some different things here. It's a one-man band, of course, but so let's go back on over to our dear Earth computer. You can see we have this lightning around Bluntstown. Also, they're saying in the chat, a lot of thunder just offshore there, Panama City. We have more storms and something to watch. I mean, there's some rotation down in these. This again could be a long day. I mean, you see all these individual areas, and sometimes when they're more discrete like that, they could have a tendency to rotate on us. So that could be a problem here with this tornado watch in play. until 7 o'clock tonight. I know right now in the country, just one tornado warning. That is for Bell and Harlan counties there in Kentucky. Watching that there. You see by the Jackson, Kentucky office there. They don't issue all that many tornado warnings, I don't think, up there, but we're seeing that through right now. Some of these storms being kind of isolated in nature. That's always kind of concerning here when you see that. Honestly, some of those storms did look a little healthier there in terms of being more isolated there versus what we're seeing down here. But obviously, we have to watch the tornado parameters. And I'll take the watch off real quick to kind of clear that up for you. We have values over 1 in spots. That's not really high, but as we look to the north, you don't see that as much to the north. And some of these spots further to the east, though, we have some of that. I know. Let's pull up our tornado risk today. We actually have a secondary 10% area, parts of North Carolina, Virginia later on. But you see this one here, including parts of our northern counties here as we're looking toward areas there around Dougherty County, obviously, and Tiff County. Kind of get the idea here. Again, things look pretty messy right now, but let's check rotation tracker. Yeah, things look pretty messy in nature here at the present time, but again, we have to watch every scan because things could change pretty rapidly here, but hopefully these storms are going to be kind of interfering with each other. Remember, we're getting too many to develop here with the warmer air mass that we're dealing with, so that'd be helpful potentially if we don't have accent here that's able to kind of use all the environmental conditions this afternoon. So again, as we look toward Dougherty County, we're watching things carefully there. Let me go ahead and pull up some different things. I have a covered map in here, so let me go ahead and switch on over to that. Again, we talked about this yesterday. We talked about this a lot here, but whenever there's a tornado warning storm moving through any one of our 62 counties here, we're on the air with you guys to provide you the very latest on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So that's the map, and that's what we cover. So make sure you guys just stay weather aware here, and we'll be on as needed. I mean, the threat could last even in the overnight hours here toward parts of north central Florida. So just got to stay tuned for the very latest here. Obviously, we'll be doing that for you here, watching things, giving you guys the latest updates. But let's get back over here. We're starting to see maybe a little bit of something come together again, possibly. That's not a good, that's not really co-located. We're seeing some greens and reds there, but let me check my other mode here of Doppler. Sometimes I can see things a little bit better on another mode. It's almost like a tropical environment. But ironically, I could end up seeing something here toward the tropics next week. That's a weak system, so it'll be kind of interesting. But we're not going to get into that too much here at this point. But again, continuing the coverage. We're at 156. Hopefully, we'll get lucky here and we'll wrap this up for a little while pretty soon, but you just never know. This trader's not selling things as much right now. We are seeing kind of a steeper cutoff here, maybe in some of these reflectivity values on the back end as I kind of loop this here, and that could be indicative of some stronger winds, straight line winds possibly. Granted, it could just be an issue with the radar here, trying to read things and not reading some of the lighter precipitation because we're getting higher above the surface. But again, going to continue to watch things. You see quite a bit of lightning there. That's interesting how we're not seeing as much lightning there to the south and west, but to the north and east here, we are seeing a little cluster of lightning there. That might cause an issue here as we look. Let me check on over here. Yeah, this axis here, toward the south and west of Aspirin there. We'll have to watch because it was showing quite a bit of lightning there as we're watching things. You see some brighter reflectivity values as well, so maybe some small hail mixed in there. That could be an issue. Yeah, that looks like some small hail there as we're looking toward parts of the covered area. So just going to continue to watch that here right now on our correlation coefficient product. Again, this could be indicative of some smaller hail there as we get toward part of our area, looking like Worth County here. If I'm reading the boundaries right, I know in this mode it's a little harder to see those boundaries here, but going to continue to watch things, obviously. Check some of our other modes here of the Doppler radar. So let me go ahead and switch back on over away from radar scope now. Let me see where we want to go with this. Okay, I'm going to check some things here. Just checking some things real quick here on our map. By the way, that tornado warning Kentucky not on the board anymore, but we do have that hail threat maximizing there closer to Doles. So Let me just take off some things, make sure we have the right layers on here for you guys. There's your tornado watch till 7, but you're definitely seeing some hail potential. Maybe not severe hail potential there, but maybe more impressive than in other spots. This area right here is similar though, just that side of covered area west of Liberty County. And again, that could be something for Tallahassee or maybe more Gadsden County to watch over the next little bit. So right now we're seeing some marginal severe weather conditions. We have the 2 warnings on the board right now. So this may be a situation if we don't see any like spark up and rotation here. Granted, we are seeing a little bit something here closer to Enigma. Granted, that's probably not going to be necessarily something that's really overwhelming here, but we're seeing a little bit of rotation there. Just got to keep our eyes on the Doppler, obviously. Got to keep our eyes peeled here on what's going on, because things can change pretty rapidly. So let's go ahead and pop those tornado CG tips just in case we get a tornado warning here, and maybe it's a situation where we're not on the air for a moment, but we come on the air real quick. And just go ahead and kind of let you guys know what you need to do if there's a tornado warning in play. That means radar has been detected using radar or spotted. That means also seek shelter inside a sturdy building. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet, at least the potential of flying debris. I know shoes sometimes can be good in the aftermath of a tornado as well. And tornado watch and play, you saw the county's area highlighted in yellow till 7. Just make sure you charge up your devices in case of power loss. I mean, lightning even could knock out power or cause damage to things, and then have multiple ways to receive alerts. So I know right now we're tracking the 2 warnings here in play. It's 2 o'clock, top of the hour. Continuing to see what the Doppler radar is telling us here. Again, I haven't had any reports yet. Let me check my power outage map here to make sure there's not something that we're missing here. Again, just seeing what we're tracking in the weather center. We do have quite a few power outages in the state of Georgia at large. Let me see where these are though. And we are seeing some in South Georgia. Let me go ahead and pop this up then. Let me go ahead and pop this up. We actually have quite a few in Thomas County right now. So let me go ahead and pop this up. I know we have a significant weather advisory that we've been tracking in that general vicinity here this afternoon. Winds 40, it was looking like there. You see 1,168 customers in the dark there. And then we get toward Calhoun County, 31. Doherty just one as the last check, but that could obviously change on us here. You see Wilcox County outside of our covered area view, and then you see areas further up, Meriwether County there toward the Columbus market, 1,352 customers in the dark. So kind of keeping our eyes on some of the different things within our map here this afternoon. And let me pop up Florida here. I'm curious. Let's just go ahead. I'll move away from this, but let's go to the Florida numbers here real quick. Not seeing too much toward the Big Bend as of yet, obviously, here, but accent moving in later. You don't see too much off to the west. But we did have some outages in the western Florida Panhandle I was keeping tabs on earlier on. We even had a destructive severe thunderstorm warning in play early this morning out there, but we had the potential for 80-mile-an-hour winds before that accident weakened out, and a new accident reformed here this afternoon as we've started to track some warnings again popping up on the board now in our covered areas. So again, tracking things. It's up to the north doesn't look really impressive. This accident here, more light and concentrated probably. I would say closer to Bluntstown, so that could be a little more of an issue. Again, nothing overwhelming here at this point. It's not like something's really sticking out at us. We do have an enhanced risk of severe weather in place, and sometimes on an enhanced risk day we could have stuff stick out at us, but we're not really seeing that right now, thankfully, so that's the good news. But going to continue to watch things here, looking west of Tallahassee right now. In Calhoun County, we're seeing winds here around 40 miles an hour. Seeing some of that accident there. And we're going to see what the Weather Service does here for 2:15, because we'll just kind of see what the latest updates are, because we might wrap it up at that point for a little bit. But we're going to continue to watch things, obviously, here in the Weather Center. But staying on right now as we await new information. And as I await new information, I'm going to pull up one of our other sources. I'm going to pull up a model source. And last night, ARRR was not doing a good job at all, to be quite honest, here, developing some of this accident. I mean, a lot of the models were struggling because it's an unusual setup, really, that we're dealing with for this time of year. So as we get into May, again, the tornado threats generally aren't as big of a deal. But I know there's other areas that want to know what's going to happen later on towards dark, so if we're not on for a while, if we get lucky, but we have more storms later, I want to let you guys know what to expect here, as they are continuing to warning for parts of Doherty, Lee, Turner, and Worth here. I know that's not on the map right now, but let me put it on the map real quick. That's continuing to 215. So let's go to the broad view real quick while I get our other system up to date here with the latest model runs. But I'll go ahead and see where we want to go with this. So just bear with me here. Again, 2:03 is the time right now. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube and Twitch. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud. There's all the different platforms for you guys. Just so you guys know where to go here in these type of scenarios to get the latest updates. But again, let's go over to the model now. I have that up on our model, GR model system. So let me go ahead and show you guys that. I know we had some issues earlier with some of this data coming on in, but it looks to have been fixed, the issues here at this point. So let me go ahead and show you this run here. This is the 16Z run. 18Z is 2 o'clock though, and it's doing a decent job here at this point. I mean, it's missing some stuff obviously though. I mean, it's definitely not perfect, but better than what it was doing here last night as it's analyzing the current conditions there from 16Z, which was at 12 o'clock there, and pushing things forward a couple hours. So we'll try to see what it shows here. Again, the forecast models are never going to be perfect here, obviously, but this is 18Z, so 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock here, you see maybe some development toward Valdosta. That's 4 o'clock. That could be an issue down there toward areas around Lowndes and Eccles counties. So I have to kind of watch that. Maybe even areas there just off toward the west even. But you see here, maybe at times we don't have warnings, or if we do, we could have a quick spin up though. And then we kind of jump ahead a while, and this gets us out to about 9 o'clock tonight. We're still watching a threat of some type of severe potential toward north central Florida. You see 10 o'clock there, 11 o'clock, midnight there, 1 o'clock. You see quite a bit of accident toward Bradford County on this run. Not really showing that last night here on some of these runs, but this is showing maybe 2 inches of rain here later this evening. Granted, every run's going to be different, so I don't want to kind of harp on this too much, but you can see here 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. We still have maybe a low and severe risk all the way to 5 or 6 in the morning before maybe finally pushing things out of our covered area down toward that Orlando television market, something for them to watch. But at 6 a.m., maybe by then we get it all clear for that severe potential around here. Saturday's not going to be as stormy maybe as what we were thinking earlier in the week. And then Sunday, Mother's Day looking good here across our covered areas. So that's good news, obviously. But again, this is all the way out to 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Let's go through this one more time here. I'll back this up. This is a 17Z, and then we'll kind of go in here. You can see we had purples there. I go away for a little bit, but again, maybe something closer to Valdosta, Interstate 75, closer toward that Friday evening commute. And then maybe severe storms from time to time here popping up on us. Again, 1Z is 9 o'clock. If you look in the corner there, the Z time is shown, and 2Z is equivalent to 10 o'clock, if you guys are wondering there. So just again, we'll have to watch to see how things get going here. The tornado threat really not supposed to be as big of a factor down toward the south and east, but still wouldn't completely rule out a quick spin up as you hear beep here. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning now. So let's go over to that. Let's see what that is. It's a tornado possible tag one, so that obviously ups the ante a little bit. So this is a tricky environment to kind of get a gauge on here. Not something we're used to dealing with all that often here as we look toward the month of May. But here we are, and we're tracking it for you here in the Weather Center. So let me go ahead and switch on over here. And I need to go ahead and switch on to this system now. I'm just trying to get the latest information in. I know sometimes when we juggle so many systems, we kind of have some issues, but it's that storm near Enigma. So it was the one we were tracking near Tifton. They dropped a warning on it, but now they've gone back with a warning, and they now have a tornado possible tag on it. Let's see the rotation tracker. There's some rotation there, nothing overwhelming at this point. So at least that's the good news this morning, going to 3 o'clock though for parts of Berrien, Irwin, and Tift counties. So we'll kind of watch these scans. It's a pretty rural zone overall, but I'm going to go to our other radars here, kind of get those loaded up for you guys in just a second. I'll see what's going on with this. It's by itself, The tornado parameters aren't all that high here. We do have a lot of energy, over 2,500 joules per kilogram here. Some of these spots in the red over 3,000 joules per kilogram. I know that's getting really technical, but that's just giving you guys an idea of how much of the surface-based keep that we have out there to deal with this afternoon. So again, checking our Doppler. Let's see, we have a little hook on that storm. That actually is a little bit more interesting here north of Enigma. Nothing enough for an imminent tornado warning, but definitely a hook on this, and that'll be something to watch in Irwin County, Coffee County. I know the Weather Service in Jacksonville just went with an advisory on this, so we'll have to see if they upgrade this to some type of warning over the next little bit. Eventually, maybe moving toward Bacon County, which would take it out of a covered area, but that's still a pretty good ways away in that timeline. So we have to watch this carefully here north of Enigma as we're getting down here right now on street level map and closer toward Pine Hill Road. I'm at a pretty low level, and that rotation is there, but it's not showing really strong winds, only 22 one way and 6 the other. But if these numbers were to increase, that would be more concerning because we are seeing at least some opposing winds and weak rotation to prompt that tornado possible tag. Again, this is a new severe thunderstorm warning till 3 o'clock. Southeastern parts of Irwin, northwestern Berry, and east central tip. At 2:06 there, a severe thunderstorm is located near Enigma, or 9 miles east of Tipton, moving east at about 30 miles an hour. We do have areas there like Enigma, Ray, over toward Brookfield, and it looks like Gladys there into this as well, or Glades, depending on how you guys pronounce that there this afternoon. So again, I want to continue to watch this here. Continue to watch the situation. I'm just trying to see exactly what is going on here. Just trying to give you guys the latest update here. Just trying to provide you guys with the very latest information. I know. Let's see if we're getting some interesting looks here on the radar. Just making sure we're not seeing anything too crazy developing. There is some inflow here on this. So let me go ahead and go back on out a little bit. I know we have 3 warnings on the board. This right here by itself is probably the most impressive. We're talking about how we need these storms more apart. 4 more severe parameters maybe to produce down to the surface, as they have just expired now. So warning for Darty as well as Lee, Turner, and Worth. So that's good news here. Definitely some good news for those folks. But here toward the east, we gotta remain on guard with this severe thunderstorm warning in play till 3 o'clock here. It could pulse up quick and maybe provide us with the tornado potential that increases enough for a tornado warning, or we could see it just kind of weaken back down again, and we'd see the warning dropped altogether. With these storms so small in nature sometimes, we could see kind of pretty big changes in them pretty quick here. We'll just have to wait and see. Saw quite a bit of scale growth there in our ZDR product. That's a technical product that we use sometimes here in severe weather coverage, kind of showing how things are developing. But again, I want to go ahead and zoom back out. We're at 2:11 now on the clock. You see that warning and doors are going away. So we have 2 warnings on the board right now. Let me go to the broad perspective here. Let me go to the broad perspective, and we'll see you guys what we're talking about. We have some storms to the west of Tallahassee. Again, a warning there for parts of Jackson Bay, Calhoun, Gadsden, and Liberty. And that goes just for another few minutes. We'll see what the Weather Service does decide to do with that action. They could extend that, or they could go ahead and drop that warning here at that 2:15 Eastern Time benchmark. We'll just have to wait and see what they decide to do. I do like how some of this action is becoming a little more messy here. Granted, I mean, we could still get a Boeing segment in here, I suppose, but and they are going to go with a new warning now. Okay, so they've gone ahead and decided to go with a new warning here for parts of Leon. Thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag until 3 o'clock. So I guess we're going to be sticking with you guys for a little bit longer here then. Let's see what this shows. See what it shows here within our values, within our signatures, within the Doppler radar. I'll kind of give you guys an idea of what's going on here. See what the echoes are showing you guys. So just bear with me. It's actually not quite into the most populated areas here at this point, but it looks like they've issued this warning here. Just there's enough potential here to raise some concerns. So Let me go ahead and see what we're doing with. We're seeing some brighter colors here at times. These don't really look like 60, but I mean, if we were to get the greens and reds to come together pretty rapidly, that could be a concern here. So we're going to continue to watch things very carefully, obviously, here in the Weather Center. Since this is not actually going toward the more populated areas like Quincy, Havana, Tallahassee, it may still wrap it up for a little bit or at least take a longer break here in the coverage. So let me go ahead and switch back on over here to the broad perspective. So at 2:13 right now, we have what's going to be two warnings here, more than likely at 2:15 with Berrien, Irwin, and Tipton play until 3. And then areas there toward Gadsden, Leon, Liberty, McCullough, at least parts of those counties under this until 3. Granted, we're talking about some of these spots here away from Tallahassee. At this moment, at least, Crawfordville's not under this. We're not talking about Quincy there, as you were seeing on our mode. So a more rural part, not moving as quickly there necessarily into toward Tallahassee, as I see from time to time. The movement is east at 35 miles an hour. So not an issue for the FSU campus yet, but something to watch, obviously, and keep in the back of your mind. So we'll see that one box drop off here in just a few seconds. In fact, as we approach here, 2:15, we're just a couple seconds away from that now. So that box there toward the west of Tallahassee will go away, and we're going to continue to watch things further on off, though, toward the east here as we get those latest radar scans. And you saw the latest update there with that, and then you saw the one yellow box going away. So these are pretty rural areas we're dealing with right now. What I think I'm going to do here at the present time, I'm going to do things a little bit differently here at this point. We're going to keep the radar up. We're not going to put like a clock on the screen, though. I'm just going to go ahead and turn the microphone off for now here, but I'm going to be in the Weather Center. I'll come back on in just a little bit as things kind of develop. In fact, let's say I'll be back here in 15 minutes at 2:30 with another update, unless something obviously is more concerning before. And if we get a tornado warning, I'll jump in immediately here on this stream. But we're at 2:15 right now. I'll just go ahead and turn the microphone down. I'll be back here in about 15 minutes with more information unless something is a little bit more concerning in the interim. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour. Continuing to watch some severe thunderstorm warnings in the covered area. We have 3 here at the present time. A new one recently issued for parts of Coffee County there in Georgia, and that goes until 3 o'clock here. The same time, expiration time includes areas there off toward the west as well there as we kind of zoom on in toward this area. It has a little hook on it and some hail in it, it looks like here. As we're looking off toward the west of Douglas, that's severe thunderstorm warning issued by the Tallahassee office for Berry and Irwin counties here until about 3 o'clock as well, tracking some of the worst of this closer toward Osceola, according to the text of the warning, but that's destroy the closest city there within that, so it's not really too close there. As we're kind of looking at things here, it's not like it's right over the city there, but you kind of get the idea. Maybe some of those addresses for Osceola being impacted as we're looking toward that area. So again, just watching the situation carefully here, trying to give you guys the latest details. I know, kind of measure this out, it's about 5 miles away maybe from the downtown area, but you kind of get the idea as we're watching this. Douglas could be an issue for you guys there. As we kind of look at the hail track over the last hour, that could be an issue for Douglas. And we had a tornado hit there a little over a year ago in toward Coffee County, and that caused quite a few issues. So hopefully we don't get anything that's been up to that effect, but we'll definitely have to watch carefully. I know, looking at some different scans here. Let's go down toward the south because we're watching things for Tallahassee here as well. Looking toward the west of Tallahassee, you can see some brighter colors here, indicative winds closer to 50. Within the radar here are not too far away from Lunchtown, just entering into our covered area really in Liberty County, close toward Bristol. So we have to watch for that, but probably the storm to the north here is a little more impressive at this point. So we'll get back up toward that here in just a few seconds. I know, let's go to the broadsheet first though, so we can again kind of see you guys what's going on here. Let's show you a couple warnings. It's outside of our covered area issued by the Peachtree City office, one for Dooley and Sumter counties until 2:45, and another here for Wilcox County there until 3 o'clock. So something they have to watch up there. And we also have not just one extra tornado watch in addition to the one here. We have another one further on off toward the east now. In terms of the national picture, this is a tornado watch here for parts of North Carolina, Virginia, and far southern West Virginia until 10 o'clock tonight. So, gotta watch that. I know there's been a lot of flooding further up to the north toward Charleston, West Virginia today, life-threatening flash flooding here. As we look at the last 12 hours, I mean, it didn't look like a lot, but these type of areas can't handle the rain as easy up there, just based on the terrain. That can be a problem. We've had issues up there before with deadly flash flooding, so I just gotta be careful here with these type of scenarios. But again, we're on the air with you at the 2:33, just past the bottom of the hour. We're watching things. No tornado warnings as of yet, but our most concerning storm, definitely the one west of Douglas. The rotation still isn't all that tight. Granted, I mean, it has a really hard to find hook on it. I suppose we could have a landslide or some really weak tornado with this there on the ground. That's a possibility, but at this point, I'm just not seeing the velocity values enough for a tornado warning here. I mean, even though we do have some weak rotation in the hook, we're only seeing winds 22 one way and 10 the other way. This is more of a weak tropical environment that we're dealing with in terms of a rotation like that. And we have to watch, though, could still have a lower level type tornado moving toward Coffee County over the next little bit. So we'll keep our eyes on it, obviously. As we get off toward the south and west, you can see some brighter colors here in some spots, but not really bright colors. And that's indicative here of some strong winds at times, but nothing that's severe in nature until you get down to the west of Tallahassee at this point. So we're just going to keep our eyes on everything here. Let me get back to the broad picture again. I know I've seen all this action in the Gulf. We still have a long day ahead of us, really. That's only 2:35, and we could be with you here on and off until late in the night, early tomorrow morning here, just depending on how things go toward north central Florida. So let's go ahead and see the SPC outlook. I know this is a tornado threat, and you're saying, well, you don't see anything down toward north central Florida, but the thing is, as we look at the hail and the wind threat, we do have those down toward the south and east, and that puts everybody else really under a marginal risk. And honestly, I mean, can't rule out even a quick spin-up tornado, but the wind potential and hail potential will be enough there to cause some concern. So we'll just have to continue to watch them with this daytime heating like it is getting toward the 90s. In some spots, that can obviously be a problem here. As you look at your surface phase keep values, we're seeing some spots there 3,500 joules per kilogram, almost 4,000 joules per kilogram there, in a few spots even there further off. I'll zoom kind of in a little bit. I see some of this west of Albany, so definitely some energy values there. Tornado parameters aren't overwhelming. They've gone up a little bit though. I see 1.45 showing up in here, but it's not overwhelming, which is good. And that kind of maybe helps us with the weaker potential. Now, we did just get an update. Okay, so just got a new warning coming out from the office there in Tallahassee until 3:15 now. You see it pop up on your screen here. This is kind of what I was wondering. Maybe we'd get some of this to develop. I know we didn't really see in the velocities that much, but with the way the reflectivity is, you sometimes will get a little bow in some of this, even if it's disorganized, and that can enhance wind potential. So gotta watch that now toward Moultrie. So we have Cook, Berrien, Thomas, Brooks, Colquitt, Tipton, Worth under this warning till it looks like 3:15. At 2:35, a severe thunderstorm was located near Riverside. They're near Moultrie, moving northeast at about 50 miles an hour, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, quarter-size hail. And then as we get further on off, again, you see some hail now. First time I've really seen that, so to an inch really in this, as we've been looking here over the last little bit. Really kind of getting close, but some of the more recent scans got us to an inch, kind of bumped down maybe a little bit here as we look at some things, but still pretty close in nature. So I know they're continuing the warning for Irwin. They've dropped Berrien, so it's for an Irwin and Coffee County thing to the north. To the south, we have this for this cluster here, not really as maybe concentrated as what you see up there to the north. I mean, we're not seeing a lot in the velocities, honestly, with this, but you just got to err on the side of caution, I suppose, here in these type of situations. As we're saying, we can sometimes get with those bands there an enhancement of wind. So even if it's not showing up too much in the velocities, it might be happening down at the surface. And then we look at some of these communities here, zoom the map around a little bit. You can see it's showing winds only of 22 here south of Moultrie, but we'll keep our eyes on things, keep our eyes on the situation, obviously. Let's get back on over to some other modes that we have at our disposal now. And they just continue the warning for Coffee until 3 now with that tornado possible tag. 60-mile-an-hour winds. I know Tallahassee, I mean, this is a looming threat there. Granted, I mean, velocity is not showing much at this point, so that's the good news. But we'll go ahead and pop up our radar scope computer here. You can see what we're dealing with in terms of things, in terms of reflectivity, for instance. But on the velocity, there's not much there. To be quite honest, that's showing up right now. I'm only seeing winds about 30 miles an hour, 38 there, maybe closer to Bristol, but just not seeing a whole bunch there at the present time, which is a good thing for Tallahassee, but it could obviously strengthen here. Let's look at the other radar. I want to see what it's showing here, different type of height, but maybe a little bit higher up actually. As we look out here, you see 46, you see 43, still not showing severe though, and not even really getting into the word of severe hail, I don't think, only 0.75. That used to be years ago the criteria for severe hail, but not really seeing that right now. Get toward the severe criteria of an inch in diameter, so that's good. We still got to watch here, do a little track on this. You can see we're midway around 316, give or take, and maybe northern parts of Tallahassee around 331, so that can be an issue there. Maybe a students there just in the general area, not college students, but just talking about the other schools here as we're looking toward the Big Bend. This can impact some of those dismissals here to some extent, possibly here. But it's not an overwhelming storm. It's not something that's extreme. I know we have our local red because of that higher end potential, but overall, we really haven't seen that materialize here as of yet in the covered area. I do not think. Granted, we did see an issue, a big issue to Mobile with a building store collapse there during the night from some of this storming is moving on through. It seemed like the damage was isolated, but it was severe in some spots. So just got to keep that in mind. I know we're seeing more warnings closer to central Georgia at this point. You see even more, as I say that, popping up on the map. A lot of those yellow boxes further up aren't in our covered area, but let's go ahead and talk about them real quick. We have 4 of them up here, I know. The one warning continuing for parts of Dooley County there, and then the new warning ahead of that for Pulaski, Dooley, and Houston counties there in Georgia. And then as we get off toward the south, Wilcox County here, and then you see warning there closer to McRae there, as well for Telfair and Telfair and Wheeler counties. So we're going to continue to watch things this afternoon for sure. Getting an update now from the Weather Service. Let me go ahead and zoom out just a little bit here and kind of position things. They're now saying here in the chat session that severe thunderstorm now just moving into western Coffee County. Will continue east-northeast towards Ambrose, the Ambrose area along State Road 32 over the next 10 minutes, and then approach the north side of Douglas in the next 10 to 20 minutes along US 441. So impacts include 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts that could damage some trees and large hail the size of quarters. So got to be mindful of that. Again, that's Coffee County here. This little storm with a hook on it. Some lightning in it at least as we get toward Coffee County. It's going to move in toward areas there. Western Coffee County here right about now. And then continue east-northeast towards Ambrose along State Road 32 over the next 10 minutes, and then approach the north side of Douglas in the next 10 to 20 minutes here along US 441. Impacts include 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts that could damage some trees and large hail the size of quarters. So gotta watch for that. Potential hail tracker showing hail a little smaller than that at the moment, closer to 3/4 of an inch in diameter, but you see toward the west a little bit higher values a moment ago. Now down to the south, there is a update on the warning here. It cleared out Calhoun, Jackson, and Wakulla, but still for parts of Gadsden, Leon, and Liberty until 3 o'clock. See some hail showing up here. Maybe not severe hail, but still could be some hail there in there for sure. So we'll continue to watch all of that for you. Rotation tracker, not all that bullish here. Again, continuing to watch everything. I'm going to take off our watches just so we can see rotation a little bit better. You see a little bit of broad, but we're not seeing our reds that we'll sometimes get with a shear rate product. Granted, not always indicative of tornadic production. It's sometimes just showing rotation that didn't always equate to a tornado, a signature even within the Doppler radar. But we'll continue to watch things, of course, in terms of all that. But let's get back over to velocity here on radar scope. Okay, we're getting an update now from the chat in Tallahassee. So not seeing much here on velocity on this mode, but let's go ahead and switch to our broad perspective as we read this update from the Tallahassee office. Now, meteorologist there. I know a meteorologist from the Jacksonville office. I just read the update here a moment ago from them, but now the Tallahassee office saying that storms continue to impact portions of the Florida Panhandle and Georgia this afternoon. Damaging wind gusts and hail are the main threat at this time, but a brief tornado spin-up cannot be ruled out as the environment is still unstable for this potential, and that threat will still persist for several hours. So gotta continue to watch for that. Hail tracker still showing more like 3/4 of an inch in diameter with the hail here, but gotta continue to watch all of this. You do see here a little bit of greens and reds on the board, but overall things are not necessarily really indicative of something too potent here at this point. But I just gotta continue to track the very latest here as it comes on out. You see up toward Moultrie here. There's a warning for you guys up there in Colquitt County, but seeing the information here, just trying to read over some of it. It's not showing too impressively right now. Let me go on over to other mode here. I know I hear some winds, it sounds like outside right now where I'm at, and could end up getting some gustier winds here. That could be a story to look ahead. I know even next week with rip current threat as well. That'll be something to keep an eye on. But as we look toward Ambrose here, we're watching things on the radar again. By the way, if you're wondering, I'm east of Stark in North Central Florida. But as we're looking here, we are seeing a little bit of weak rotation in here. This is a storm. I mean, it could pulse up kind of quick and get us a tornado warning, or it could pulse down and not be as big of a factor. But luckily, as we get here, I'll draw it on real quick, but as we get past this line, these areas here, they're not in a covered area, so that's the good news. It's moving out here in pretty short order, so we won't have to worry about this particular storm. Just kind of drawing the lines here, doing the best they can. It's not going to be perfect, but you kind of get the idea here. Just kind of drawing a line. Obviously, we don't cover an area like Jacksonville, Georgia, if you're wondering, but just kind of sending you guys a line here. This is going to moving on out here in the areas of southeast Georgia that are more in the Savannah TV market in just a little bit. So that's the good news. Let's get back on over to so many thunderstorm warnings, but a lot of these yellow boxes are actually, as you look at the top of your screen outside the covered area. That's the good news. I know the hail actually is pulsing up a little bit though in the storm west of Tallahassee. That's very much in the covered area, so we have to be watching for that. We have to be watching for that here west of Tallahassee, and that could be an issue here as we look ahead. That's the biggest hail we've seen on this storm today, I think. As we've been tracking it, at least into our covered area for sure. I mean, just getting in there, and we've just seen a cancellation of the Irwin warning now because it's moved in toward Coffee County here more on the latest scans. Not indicative of that necessarily on this mode, but it has. I mean, I'll go over to radar scope and be able to see the latest scan that this came across, and you'll kind of be able to get that idea here for sure. So let me go ahead and pop this on. I know we were just showing the boundaries, but yeah, this is definitely in the word Coffee County. This is, by the way, the Jacksonville jurisdiction. And a little more maybe of some winds going in an opposing direction at the Moody site now. A little bit of that trying to up, so we'll have to just watch if we get a quick warning. See if we get a quick warning there, but a tornado warning I'm talking about. But we'll just continue to watch that here and give you guys the very latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family. So back on over right now. Let's see what's happening here. See what's happening. You can see the lightning. Quite a bit of lightning west of Tallahassee. So let's try to give you guys an ETA in Tallahassee. This is moving slower east of 25 now. So about an hour still maybe from the capital city. Granted, it could speed up or slow down on us some more, but about an hour until it moves in toward the capital city or in areas maybe northward as well of that. So points northward, but just going to keep on tracking things here. I know we have 3 tornado watches in play here at this point. No tornado warnings at least, which is obviously good news, but going to continue to watch some more things like wind direction here, the low pressure there. You can see lower pressures there toward North Carolina, about 1,004 millibars showing up right now. And we're going to be seeing that kind of pushing off toward the east again and off the east coast. And that could be something as we're looking here. We're going to be watching maybe next week for some tropical developments. So that could be interesting here in the weather picture. But let's go ahead and zoom back out a little bit more here. You can kind of see even a broader scale, lower pressure scenario here as we kind of look at things toward the west. I mean, we have a broad area here. I mean, again, we pointed out that one area in North Carolina, but really, as you kind of look at this, I mean, this area here off toward the west is a broad area of 1,001 millibars. So that's something to kind of keep in mind here as well. Let's try to analyze this on the fly, not something that you do too often here, but this has been on for a while. Just trying to give you guys the very latest information, obviously. Just trying to give you guys the very latest information as we now have a new warning here in play. So let's see where we want to go with this. As we go down toward the south here, we did just get a new update here from the Weather Service. This is now going to be for parts of Irwin, Barron, and Tipped until 3:45. Again, I'm not seeing a whole bunch here, to be quite honest. So just trying to err on the side of caution, I guess, versus issuing maybe tornado warnings for these weak areas of rotation. But let's see here. There is a little bit of wind enhancement in here, I suppose, as we get closer toward Enigma. Sometimes these reports are delayed, by the way, in the rural areas. That's something to keep an eye on, but just keeping our eyes on the situation here carefully. Trying to give you guys the very latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family here. Just seeing what the updates are. I know as we get back on down, okay, they're saying the storm across Gadsden starting to tighten up a little bit more, and a tornado warning may be needed shortly. So let's get back in toward that area. Let me see what we're seeing on the Tallahassee Radar, then let's get set up for that. If we get a tornado warning toward Gadsden, because obviously that'd be in a more populated area even, so that'd be kind of concerning. So let me get over. Let me see where we want to take you guys. Let's go to the broad view. We did just get our first wind report in, by the way. This is toward Terrell County. A tree down blocking Pleasant Hill Road from around 140. So starting to get some issues here arise a little bit in the weather center. But yeah, we are starting. Yeah, wow. Yeah, we are starting to really see that rotation ramp up there toward. I mean, even Liberty County actually is where that would be more than Gadsden at this point. If I'm reading this right, yeah, that'd be more than Liberty County. That may get us a tornado warning pretty quick, honestly. That's ramped up quick. I mean, as we move between radars, we should have a lot more brighter color. That's 60-mile-an-hour wind now, showing up closer, and that's circulation, folks. I mean, that's on base, so keep that in mind. But still, we have some circulation here starting to show up north of Hosford there, and we might get a tornado warning any time for parts of Liberty, Gadsden, Leon even could be under this. So we need to be prepared here for a tornado to develop, as that's kind of more on its own here as we look at some of the different scans, and that could be a problem. That could be a problem here as we look off toward the east. So again, continuing to watch things here, continuing to watch the scenario as it does evolve. That's Roy hooking there now, so we could get a tornado warning at any point here. Need to be prepared. Be ready to take those tornado precautions here and toward this area. So let's kind of get down the line here with this. I mean, going to be crossing over State Highway 65, a possible tornado in this moment. I need to be prepared to take your tornado precautions here. Again, could get a tornado warning any time in this area. Could get a tornado warning any time. Now that's really ramped up. Again, looking in toward areas there for closer to Midway and North Fleet, and maybe even Tallahassee. Granted, I was tracking this a little further toward the north a moment ago. Let me see how we're tracking this right now. It's looking more east, and that's how they're tracking the weather services here right now. So that could be more of a Tallahassee problem here, folks. These storms can kind of change direction on us at times. That's definitely a severe storm, though, at this point. And whether it's producing a tornado or has the potential to produce a tornado in short order, that's the question now. They're now telling us here in the chat that the Jacksonville office is saying the thunderstorm weakening there in the Coffee County area as it approaches 441, and they're likely it's going to go with a special weather statement due to that trend. So what we're going to do real quick, we're going to take a quick break in the cover. We'll be back in about 5. I'll make that 2.5 minutes. Just in case we get a quick tornado warning on this, I want to make sure we're ready to come on. So I'm going to be back in about 2.5 minutes with more information here on the very latest on what could be a tornado warning situation toward the Big Bend here in short order.
This is a clouds weather alert.
Back here at 2:56, we're seeing if Weather Service in Tallahassee goes with a tornado warning pretty soon, because we're seeing an increase in some of that circulation here toward the west of Tallahassee. Granted, as I look at the latest frames, it looks like it could just be more straight line winds of an base velocity, even though we're still seeing some opposing winds here. So we have to be mindful that this could be an imminent tornado warning situation for areas further off toward the east. We've got to be ready to take those tornado precautions. Interior room away from windows here as we look toward the Big Bend. So you see this moving in toward southern parts of Gadsden County, though, as we get down to street level mapping. Right now we're looking here at State Road 65. We're also looking here as we get on here. Some of these smaller roads aren't going to pop up for us, as we just got the latest scan in, though. Luckily, some of these are more rural areas that we're dealing with. They're not popping up on us, and that happens from time to time. But again, we're going to continue to track the movement here. You can kind of see we do have a little northerly component, so maybe more midway, but then more north Tallahassee eventually. We'll just have to wait and see. With this Roy being unimpeded to the south right now, that's a problem, because this storm is in a pretty favorable environment. Discrete storm line, as we got to really be careful here further off, because we could get those winds to really wrap up on us and produce a tornado here at any moment. So we really need to be careful here in the Florida Big Bend this afternoon. With that being said, there's no tornado warning yet, so that's good news. But again, we have to be ready here at a moment's notice to take those tornado precautions. So again, we're watching things very carefully. I know we have some other warnings on the board right now. Let's go back to the broad perspective here. Let me go back to the broad view. We have two other warnings in the coverage area. The coffee warning's been dropped here, but we do have a warning for parts of Irwin, Berrien, and Tiff. Also for parts here of Cook, Berrien, Colquitt, Tiff, and Worth. So that's the information we're getting right now. Cook, Berrien, Colquitt, Tiff, and Worth. So we just got a new warning now, and they've gone ahead and said that we're not seeing the wrapping of the opposing winds anymore. They're saying it's just one wind direction by. They're not including a tornado possible tag in the latest update here. This is moving very slowly, by the way, as the track here is very interesting. But to be quite honest, as we kind of will see that probably going to pop up on here as well. And it's not moving fast at all, and with it not being cut off, that could be interesting. But I guess they're saying as it's moving so slow, it's kind of still edging to the north a little bit more maybe than what this polygon here is showing as the other polygon. We'll show you guys here in just a second. I know we had it up, and there it is. You see this still showing north Tallahassee being clipped eventually, but this one it goes all the way to 345, and we're still seeing that sluggish movement here overall. So that's kind of interesting to see for sure. So we're going to continue to watch this here. So on 50-mile-an-hour winds on this mode, so a little bit weaker right now as we get here close to the Gadsden, Liberty County border. Let's see what they're saying here in the chat now. You heard the beat. They're saying they haven't pulled the trigger to issue a tornado warning with the Gadsden storm, as it appears that the couple is not as tight as it once was. If the trend continues to hold off, they'll hold off on a tornado warning, but they're going to continue to monitor it, obviously. So something we got to do here in the Weather Center as well. Just see what happens. I mean, I think they're just saying more straight line, though, with the way they issue that new warning, because that could have just been a mistake there. But I think they know what they're talking about there with the way they issue that. Sometimes when you're hitting the buttons, maybe not hitting the tornado possible tag, but I would think, actually, I have a tendency to think that this is more straight line, that it's okay not having a tornado possible tag in here. That's just something really we look at behind the scenes. Not many people focus on the tags here. Something more just for us meteorologists here behind the scenes. It's not something a meteorologist will always be focusing on necessarily. They just want to be ready to issue a tornado warning if that's necessary, obviously. But again, continuing to watch this here. It looks weaker. It looks more like 50-mile-an-hour winds there. Again, haven't had that many damage reports here. Not too many power outages so far in our covered area. Had a few in Thomas County. They weren't even under a warning, but looking here, numbers are really low right now in the Florida county. Now in Georgia, I do see numbers that are higher as a whole at large, but nothing overwhelming. There are a few outages here and there that are kind of interesting. So I'm going to pull the Georgia map up I mean, it's mainly because the counties are so small here. It's just showing things at the higher percentage. But Thomas does have 1,173 customers in the dark. You see Decatur 113 customers, Miller 27, Baker County, Georgia 54, Calhoun 30 something 31, and then 57 Doherty. You see some of these outside of area with some outages as well. You see Cook County, Dale 46. So some low numbers. They don't have too much, but something to kind of keep our eyes on there. In South Georgia, seeing a few more outages overall, as we're kind of closer to the low pressure there. But again, going to continue to watch. The situation. Give you guys the very latest updates. Let's see what our velocity is showing in Georgia right now. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, we're not seeing a whole bunch. Let me go to radar scope. It's taking a second to load here. That's why I'm not seeing too much right now. But just trying to give you guys the latest scans here. Obviously, just taking just a second. So trying to get that Moody's site to pop one up on us, and I see they just canceled out the Berrien call, Cook, Tipton, Worth warning. So that's about what I was going to say. Actually, it's not loading right now. So let's just stay with what we're looking at here toward the south for now. And then I do want to go toward a broad view here, as we do see that warning just popping off the screen. There was one there. I'll back it up and say you see the one box. It's gone now. So we are down to 2 warnings here in our covered area. It was looking like things were ramping up there a moment ago, but we dropped back down to just 2 warnings. It seems in some regard, I mean, they're kind of still not the perfect parameters. I mean, the instabilities there are really high, and we do have enough shear for some tornado threat, but it could be worse here. For sure, we're not seeing an overwhelming number of tornado warnings, but as I say that, we just got a report in from the spotter network there toward Berrien County. 4-inch in diameter tree branch down on Highway 82. They're closer toward Enigma. And as I say that, we just got a new warning again for Coffee County. Weather Service in Jacksonville is now a little more concerned again. So we're saying they're watching another severe storm west of Coffee County approaching their Alafaya or Lapahai. I think there's 2 different areas that are pretty similar like that in our area, but similar to the current storm just north of Douglas that has a good weak echo region with the hail core aloft, but no circulation associated with it. So it's just a wind-based warning right now. It's just a wind-based warning here at the present time. So that's something we'll continue to watch up that way. See if we can get our other radar. It looks like we're having some issues at least. Oh, there we go. Okay, Moody radar just came across, and I've been switching some data sources here. There were some issues earlier this morning. I wanted to make sure we were ready for you for that early round, just in case we had some warnings here in our 4 western counties. So I had to switch some things on over because there were some issues. But let me go back on over here toward Moody Air Force Base radar. So that new warning is for this area as it moves more toward Coffee County. Again, getting the latest updates here in. You can see a little bit of wind enhancement in here. Again, not all that impressive. 40 miles an hour showing up within the velocity. They're talking about 60-mile-an-hour winds and nickel-size hail. Here with the hail core slightly weaker there, really. I know in Tallahassee's jurisdiction they had 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-size hail listed. That's kind of an interesting distinction. A little bit weaker than the accent to the west, but let's go ahead and zoom back down toward the south. Not seeing the numbers we were getting a moment ago. Let's take a look back at velocity here on this mode. You don't see it as much on here. Interesting, because we're getting a lot brighter on our other mode here. But I mean, there was still some circulation here, don't get me wrong, but it was showing up a lot more well defined on the other color table. It's kind of interesting, actually. I mean, it was showing some gate to gate here on this, but it was not as close maybe to a tornado warning here as our other radar may have showed that it was. So that's kind of interesting to keep in mind. Definitely interesting to keep in mind here this afternoon as we continue to give you the latest updates. So again, 3:05 right now is the time. Let's see what we want to do in terms of a reset with the coverage at this moment. Let me go back off of radar scope. We'll see our whole viewpoint here. I know there actually is now a tornado warning in Kentucky again. There's a threat all the way up there with that low pressure and things kind of coming into play here. Tornado warning in Kentucky. This is a tornado warning for part of areas there. It looks like around the community of, I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. Let me just skip over it. So also 11 miles south of McKee, though, is another area that we're talking about there in southeastern Kentucky with a potential threat. So again, watching some national level threats here. You can see these tornado watches, three different ones, two up there, and then the one down here. A pretty widespread threat here of some tornadic activity to some extent. Granted, hadn't been overwhelming. We're not expecting maybe strong tornadoes in a widespread manner. I mean, obviously somewhere in between. You can't rule out one or two, but right now we got three warnings here in the covered area. Nothing overwhelming here at the moment. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to turn the microphone down. We're going to turn the microphone down for now. If we get a tornado warning, we'll be back immediately. Turn the sound down. We did it a little earlier. It's a little different than what I normally do. But if I need to break back in before 3:30, I'll break in immediately here, folks. But if it's just a simple thunderstorm warning, something that's not as impressive, I might just wait to go ahead and turn my mic back on here at 3:30 to provide you with more updates. This is kind of a busy afternoon, so I don't want to just kind of continuously talk here, but we're going to continue to update you guys. Of course, with the tornado warning, things change a little bit, but just going to go ahead and turn the mic down for now and be back here in the Weather Center with another update at 3:30. So we need to break back in earlier with something more imminent like a tornado warning. Another latest update from the Weather Service in Tallahassee is that a cluster of storms across Tifton there no longer warned, but it is still strong. Hence, a special weather statement is out. So we'll be continuing to watch that, continuing to monitor things. Be back here at 3:30. Also, we need to break back in soon with more information. Of course, the tornado watch here in that broad yellow does continue here until 7 o'clock tonight. We still have a threat even further east towards Stark and Gainesville as we get late tonight and early on that Saturday morning. So don't let your guard down. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour. Continue to watch some severe weather activity right now. The accent toward the west of Tallahassee is really kind of falling apart. No warnings in play there. You see a cluster of warnings there toward our northern zones. We'll go ahead and zoom up there right now. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning remaining in effect here until about 3:45 for parts of Irwin and Berrien counties. And then another one in play here for parts of Coffee County until about 3:45. Now that third warning on the board is also for parts of Coffee County until 3:45 before that kind of moves on out. So just trying to kind of keep an eye on things here. We have started to get some reports into the Weather Center off toward Berrien County, for instance. Tree down on power lines there. Looking here at the chat session, I know as I scroll on down a little bit down there, trees at State Road 37 and Summerlin Road, down on a vehicle there, one of them at least, down on a vehicle there in Norman Park and Colquitt County. So getting some reports in now of at least some wind damage. So we have to keep that in mind. These storms have started to so that they have been capable of producing some wind damage and severe weather damage concerns. So maybe not tornado damage, but tornado watch still in play a 7. I know the Storm Prediction Center talking about maybe issuing a new watch off toward the east here, maybe covering up towards Savannah, maybe even a little further south and toward our area. We'll see. I know this is a mesoscale discussion, so definitely could end up including some more areas here closer toward the south and east, but we're going to have to kind of see how the parameters come together here. I know the instabilities here, but tornado parameters, they're there, but they're not overwhelming, but things kind of become isolated and move in the right direction here. Sometimes the winds can kind of be more favorable for that tornado production down toward the surface, so we'll have to keep our eyes on that, of course. You can see some tornado warnings are in play up toward the north. There's 2 of them right now, one there for Forsyth County in North Carolina, and another one there in parts of Kentucky. This is southwest of Jackson, Kentucky, northwest of Hazard. I know they've had a pretty busy day up there compared to what they're used to up and toward that part of the country, so definitely something to kind of keep our eyes on here. This afternoon, I noticed some of this action down here to the south of Berlin. Also, is kind of a little more impressive south of Berlin, west of Hira. We'll kind of keep our eyes on that. There's a significant weather advisory in play. It looks like it just issued that significant weather advisory a few minutes ago. So let me go ahead and pop this on here right now. You can kind of see what we're talking about down here west of I-75. Some wind enhancement, maybe winds here on the order of 40 miles an hour, and penny-sized hail also a possibility as well, as they're keeping an eye now. They're saying here in the chat session, they're keeping an eye on this storm very carefully because if it continues to strengthen, of course, then that could be problematic. So we'll have to continue to watch it as it moves closer toward Hira here and Interstate 75 in parts of South Georgia there. So just something to keep our eyes on here as we monitor the situation. Let me go back on over to the broad view right now. You see lightning here and there, but again, that one storm there by itself, a little more interesting. And then we have the storms again, some of this action here, south and west here of Ambrose. You saw that on here. Douglas also. We're going to be watching you guys there in Coffee County and more rounds of weather coming on in. You see the last hour, some of this, but then as we go to the last 12 hours, we're going to see how more of the rain has been trying to make its way on in. Just kind of seeing some different tracks here and there. But again, going to continue to watch things, continue to monitor the situation. You have more accidents still in the Gulf of Mexico. Just got to continue to see exactly what could come together here. It's a unique setup overall. Our significant tornado parameters are there, but not overwhelming on the surface-based Cape. I mean, this is closer to what you get in summertime. When you have those combining, you to get that organized severe potential, but maybe not enough really for much in the way of tornadic activity. But we do have the tornado watch in play. We have had some wind damage reports, and they're talking about they're going to issue a statement now for the cluster storms from Calhoun to Gadsden. Significant weather advisory, so we'll be keeping our eyes on that. But thunderstorm wind damage report there toward Colquitt County. We talked about it a little earlier, but trees at State Road 37 west and Summerlin Road down in a tree on a vehicle there in Norman Park, according to emergency management. Tree down a power line there in Enigma and Berrien County. Notice we saw some wind enhancement there earlier. and then tree down near the intersection of Georgia 112 and Kristen Hill Road up in Wilcox County. That's outside of our coverage area, but kind of interesting to keep our eyes on here for sure. I see they just canceled the warning the Tallahassee office did for Berrien and Irwin, so for the moment, Tallahassee doesn't have any warnings in play in their jurisdiction. The two are in Coffee County, but that could change. Again, we're watching this area here off toward the west of 75, here west of Hira. See if that gets a warning in short order. It could. It may also pulse back down on us again. And that line west of Tallahassee, another area that we're kind of keeping our eyes on. It seems like it's wanting to strengthen now a little bit further. And so we have to kind of keep our eyes on it. Some more action may try to work its way in a little bit later on. So got to keep our eyes on that. So let me go ahead and get down here. You can see southwest of Bluntstown. And in fact, they're now saying they're going to issue a severe thunderstorm warning for that storm across Calhoun County, with wind being the main threat. So that's going to probably extend into word part of Liberty, Gadsden, some of those areas here over the next little bit. So we'll have to watch out for that, obviously. You kind of see how we were getting a little bit more wind enhancement in here in some of these latest scans. Check the other radar. Probably going to see it as well, though, based on what I see. And, you know, you see a little weak rotation in there. Southwest of Bluntstown, kind of getting redevelopment in some similar areas here today. I'm kind of interested in development overall, but I'm going to get, again, a new warning coming on out here momentarily from the office in Tallahassee for the accident out. It's out of our area now, but we're going to continue to watch, obviously, to see what happens. I just continue to watch the situation very carefully. Let me go back on over to the broad view. You'll see that yellow box pop up in a moment here. Off toward the west of Tallahassee. That'll be a warning for that new area of activity. We're really starting to watch here a little more carefully now. So that's going to be a new warning here. See by the Tallahassee office in Florida. There's something to keep our eyes on here for sure. Just trying to see exactly what's happening here with the latest scans. Let me go ahead and switch back on over right now. Let me switch back to other mode west of Hira. See some wind enhancement here around Barney. We're continuing to watch things carefully within the radar algorithms. We're going to continue to see if we get any type of warning there for this area as well. Again, that new warning coming out soon for parts of Calhoun County. That is now meeting that severe criteria according to the Weather Service in Tallahassee there at the Love Building on the FSU campus. They're the ones that issue these warnings here for the Tallahassee County warning area. So again, that's something to kind of be mindful of here for sure. Let me see you again our instability values. Let me take off the watch real quick. Again, that goes to 7. You see the enhanced risk of severe weather at 3 out of 5 on the scale. Don't get that too much around here. You see your tornado threat greatest to the north, but the wind threat extending down toward the south some more. So we have to always be mindful of that. Let's go ahead and put on our satellite now. You can see the infrared satellite is showing some of this activity. I have it on the isolated viewpoint here, it looks like, but kind of give us a little bit better look at things at times. But we're not seeing the really cold cloud tops, but we're seeing ones that are cold enough here that kind of switch between some different modes of this. You kind of get the idea enough here to be maybe severe in nature. So got to keep our eyes on that. So again, the warning now just coming out. Let's get to the broad view here real quick. Let's see what I'm talking about. We'll see that yellow box added. You see the highlighted area. That's the tornado watch. But a yellow box will be added here west of Tallahassee. It's severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Calhoun, Gadsden, and Liberty now until 4:15 this afternoon. There's your box. There's your warning. Let's zoom on in. A pretty rural area still included here. So at 3:38, severe thunderstorm was located over Bluntstown, moving northeast at 55 miles an hour. So going to be watching this eventually move toward Quincy, maybe North Tallahassee. I know we thought we were going to get some of that earlier, but kind of fell apart here. That's just the nature of things sometimes here in this unusual setup. So got to be bearing that all in mind. So we're watching things, we're tracking things. We could get another warning here a little bit later on as we look off toward areas around I-75, that cluster there. You have the accident on Coffee County kind of moving away. Although it could still get some more warnings extended up there because it's not going to be out in 5 minutes. It's going to still hang around a little longer. some of that accent. So we're watching that. I know we're watching some from one in North Carolina, one there right now, one toward Kentucky. I'll be back here at 4 o'clock unless we need to break back in earlier with more information. So it's going to turn the sound down again. But if we need to come back one earlier, of course we'll do so to protect you, your friends, and your family. Meteorologist Casey Cloud jumping back on with you right now at 3:49. You see a new severe thunderstorm watch here now on Plato 10 in the pink area. I'll get to that in a moment. The real reason I wanted to go ahead and jump in though at the present time is because we're starting to see a storm here to the southwest of Hihara that's a little more suspicious now. No warning yet, but it does have a more well-defined hook. And we're starting to see a little more rotation here around Morbin, at least some wind enhancement as you see in our base velocity values here. So now there's not a severe thunderstorm warning with this, so I'm going to take that off. And we do have the warning to the west. Let me just take that off, though. I don't want to confuse anybody. No official warning here right now, but we just want to be prepared for some type of warning as this gets closer toward Interstate 75 here. Because we've seen some enhancement. It was even a little bit stronger, some of this enhancement a moment ago there off toward the north. But we're watching this pretty carefully here, so gonna keep our eyes on it. Just wanted to jump on real quick, but let's jump back to the broad view now. Now that we got you up to date on that, real quick here, you can see this pink area. This is a thunderstorm watch until 10. We don't have those all that often around here, but it includes parts of northeast Florida and southeast eastern Georgia, even the South Carolina there. As we're talking about some damaging winds, maybe 70, could have some large hail at times, and even a tornado or two cannot be ruled out. So now a severe thunderstorm watch, meaning a more organized threat for severe thunderstorms, going in the pink color until 10. That's generally what we've seen today toward the west versus tornadic activity. We have had some damage reports here and there, but it's been more seemingly, at least, I mean, it could end up having to be surveyed by the Weather Service there in Tallahassee, but seemingly, and so far, it's been more in the order of just some wind damage being reported. I mean, reports are still trickling in, so it might become more obvious one way or the other if things are a little bit different. But again, just one warning right now, but we are watching that storm west of 75. This one's southwest of I-10. It's a thunderstorm warning until 4:15 for parts of Calhoun, Gadsden, and Liberty counties here. So I'm going to be continuing to watch for that. Things interesting how they're coming and going today. You don't see this much of this sometimes around here in this setup. I mean, it's more of a hybrid type setup in some ways between summertime and a normal severe weather setup. Kind of odd to see here, but we're going to continue to watch. Let me go ahead and pull up radar scope. You'll be able to see here some of our brighter colors on the board. South of Blanchetown, we're seeing 54, 56 miles an hour. So that could be indicative of some of the stronger winds that are eventually moving more toward Gadsden. Though some of this is over the same area that can end up leading to some flooding concerns as well. So just wanted to jump in here real quick to give you a couple updates. Watching that one storm west of 75, watching this storm here south of I-10, and then we're also watching that new severe thunderstorm watch here until 10 o'clock. So let's go back over toward our broad view here. You see the area we're looking at there, but then let me go over to the broad perspective. So you see that pink color there, that's under a severe thunderstorm watch until 10. Keep you guys advised of the situation here as conditions warrant. I'll be back here at about 4 o'clock unless we need to break back in earlier, so I'll go ahead and turn the sound down for the time being. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the top of the hour with another update. As we have a Wednesday thunderstorm warning remaining in effect here for parts of, it looks like, Liberty, Gadsden, and Calhoun counties here for another 15 minutes or so. Granted, it could get extended. There's still some higher velocity values showing up, but it's a really interesting situation. Things are coming and going on us, so we just kind of have to be on guard. I know that pink area, if you're wondering, we don't see that all that often around here. That is not a severe thunderstorm watch here in play until 10 o'clock, so we're going to be with you here on and off at times, at least potentially here toward the evening hours here. We'll be continuing to watch. I might cut the streaming a little bit if the warning does go away off toward the west of Tallahassee. We don't have any imminent threats. I know that one storm we were talking about west of 75, not quite as strong, but I know we got quite a few reports out of Bering County earlier on there in towards South Georgia. So I know just something you got to keep your eyes on here, the situation. You don't let your guard down, obviously. But we're just continuing to watch things here in the Weather Center as I continue to look at things. Let's go ahead and go to storm relative velocity on this thunderstorm warning situation right now. You can see here we're watching things some brighter colors in the Calhoun County versus really in our covered area right now. But again, things can change rapidly here. Another thing I want to show is our severe risk overall has been reduced for our local area. So that's definitely good news. And by the way, we just got a delayed report in from Irwin County of some quarter-size hail. I think that's our first severe hail report of the day. But let's go over to the other system now. You can see we're down to a 2 out of 5 risk again. We had an enhanced risk earlier. We had a couple areas here, as I've talked about, with some nastier weather. But overall, things haven't been quite as widespread so far as they could have been here locally. It doesn't seem in terms of the damage. But we'll go ahead and zoom back on out now. The tornado risk has been reduced as well. We did have a 10% and a 5% here in our area. No longer either one of those, down to 2% for all of our area and way. I mean, you have to go all the way into northern Georgia now. Pretty big change, really, in that space. The 10% is now just into North Carolina and Virginia. It's a pretty big change here between one outlook. But the hail risk is still here as well, with that one report just coming in of severe hail from earlier around 2:30 in Irwin County there. So again, we're keeping our eyes on the situation. Nothing overwhelming right now, but again, things kind of have a tendency to come and go on us, come and go. So we just don't want to let our guard down here. An odd setup overall. So, of course, when we're not on the air, you can go to cloudweather.com/radar, but I want to stick with this through at least about 4:15 or so to see what the Weather Service decides to do. Again, they could keep extending. We could be having warnings here for the better part of the next several hours. It's possible, but we could also have a good lull in here, or maybe not have warnings for a while. Maybe things kind of overall decline enough in their intensity not to have this kind of a iffy situation. The models aren't handling things good. This is not a normal setup for us, really. So we kind of have to be on our toes here just to make sure things don't ramp back up on us. But that's good to see the tornado numbers go down like they did here. The parameters weren't quite as high as they could have been here. I know we had some of that action earlier on this morning trying to come through. It fell apart, but we had nastier weather than expected. Early this morning and toward the western Florida panhandle and around Mobile. Really weren't under a risk for severe weather, and we had some pretty substantial severe weather there outside of our covered area early on this morning in the overnight hours. Again, a weekend before it got in our area, before it caused any issues in our covered area, really. But nonetheless, it may be kind of helping here some, and I haven't analyzed everything, but just kind of taking a little guess here. I'm thinking maybe it kind of helped things not get quite as nasty as they could have been here in toward parts of the area today. But again, going to continue to watch. It's not as much maybe juice for the storms here, but again, it's kind of a tricky situation. The models haven't been handling it well. It's not a normal setup here, really. And that low pressure, actually, we could end up seeing that again here as we get toward next week. We could end up seeing that again. Now he end up becoming a tropical system, but that's something to talk about down the road here as we do look ahead toward the timeline. But again, looking right now here, nothing really impressive. I mean, we are seeing some pixels in here in Calhoun County that are still close to severe. I mean, it's a situation. We'll just see what the Weather Service does here. I think I'm just going to kind of try to go with it at 4:15, and then if we don't get an extension, we'll wrap the coverage up then. Or if we don't get another warning, I mean, also, because we could get another warning that storm west at 75 in theory. I'm going to check it real quick to see if anything's kind of ramped back up on us or not. You never know in these type of situations. I want to make sure everybody's kind of on guard here. So let me look around 75. There's not a lot in the velocity at all there, so that's good. And I mean, I do want to see some of these reports. Let me do this. Let's go over to this other mode, and we'll kind of see. We got quite a few reports here. One path, really. Kind of interesting to see this. I'm going to see if I can put some of our derived information on. It could help me out a little bit, actually, or may not actually sew one up here, but just try a couple different things here. Give me just a moment. Okay, we're not really seeing what I want to sew, but let me go ahead and just show you guys the other information here. I can just circle this for you guys. So it'll help us out here kind of to tell the weather story, because I mean, we haven't had that many reports overall, but we did in one little area here. I'm just going to kind of draw the little box for everybody. Just kind of draw this box for everybody at home here. I know I'm drawing this kind of too far to the north, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm saying here. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wind reports in here in a pretty small area. One storm there really causing those, I would think. As we look back to 35, we had trees at State Road 37 west and Summerlin Road down on a vehicle there. One of those trees even in Norman Park. And as we get closer to Norman Park, you see a tree on a car there at Serena Drive. So let's see, these could be the same report, but interesting. Could be the same report in there. It could be a duplicate, I'm not sure, but let's keep going with this now. Up to the north here. You can see some issues toward El Dorado there. El Dorado, depending on how you guys want to pronounce that, up there and up toward Enigma. Had some more reports of tree and power lines down there as well, and then power line down up to the north. But I also just got some more reports, a few reports out of, looks like, out of Irwin County now from around 2:30 as well. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. So around Irwin County around 2:30, it looks like tree down there on a roadway, and then we also have another report of a tree down and a third report of a tree down. So definitely having some issues toward Irwin, toward Berrien counties here this afternoon with some hail and some wind issues. Kind of interesting to see that here. It'll be interesting to review the radar to figure out exactly what kind of happened there in that stretch here this afternoon to kind of get a gauge on. I mean, sometimes those can dictate future warnings even. Here and how those are drawn and those are taken into account based on the velocities we were seeing and the overall wind and radar pattern. Something just always interesting to be able to research here in the meteorology world. So we're at 408 right now, continuing the coverage for the time being. Our meteorologist Casey Cloud only have one warning in our area. There's a bunch of warnings though nationally. So let's go up to the north. We have several warnings here, Statesboro and to the north. You see warnings here towards Chattanooga, a warning near Greenville, South Carolina. We have some warnings here in Tennessee. I know they've had some nasty weather on Cookville today. You can see the action toward Knoxville and University of Tennessee. You see some action, even a tornado warning toward Kentucky there. Jackson, Kentucky office has been busy. Possible tornado over Howard Creek, or not too far from Jackson even, up there in toward that area. So gotta watch that, Jackson, Kentucky, and then some warnings, several warnings in North Carolina. I know seeing some 60-mile-an-hour winds here in the warnings, but a report of 70 earlier in Pitt County, North Carolina. It's a busy afternoon nationally here in terms of all sorts of wind damage reports, things to that regard. Even some winds outside of the storms on the backside, so up toward Birmingham. And I know we've had winds here gusting even towards Stark here that have been a little gusty in terms of those numbers. I mean, 18 miles an hour is what I saw earlier. Granted, that's a little low down, so could get even stronger winds down toward the surface here, in toward some of these spots that are a little more open maybe, or even a little bit higher up with an anemometer you'd get that. So again, I'm just going to continue to watch. We still have more action here in the Gulf, so you can't really clear the tornado watch out yet for some of these Florida counties. Just in case things were to rotate on us, we could still get a couple more tornado warnings here in play. Granted, we haven't had any in our area, but Tallahassee office did issue one earlier toward Bay County earlier on, and there were tornado warnings early on and the western Florida panhandle as well. So a unique setup here. Energy values are there. I mean, it could have been higher really, but they're still there, and any tornado parameters are there, but again, they could have been higher here considering what some of the models were dictating to us here. But again, they weren't handling things all that good here. But again, I mean, we've had issues in Berrien and Irwin County, so we can't understate that. I mean, I'm not necessarily seeing that jump out like a sore thumb at us on radar either, but seeing some issues towards some of those communities. So let me go ahead and look here at some more information. Again, just trying to read some of these reports here. It's interesting to see how they were kind of clustered in time in Colquitt County here too. Don't want to leave you guys out in Terrell County. We've had quite a few wind reports there in that general vicinity, and again in a pretty short period of time there. So again, it'd be kind of interesting to figure out exactly what occurred there, and probably just the wind damage getting down to the surface for a little path there and for a pretty short period of time. But it did seem to cause quite a bit of issues there, so it might even be worth a wind damage survey, to be quite honest, from the Weather Service in Tallahassee to have that many wind damage reports in those rural type areas, relatively rural type areas. Looks like they're going to go with a special weather statement now from Calhoun to northwestern Leon, which tells me this warning is going to go away here at 4:15 unless something changes, which will be good. Let me go ahead and go back on over toward the Doppler. Let me go back to the Doppler here, looking toward Liberty County. We're not seeing a lot. We're seeing some winds here up to 50 miles an hour, but we're not seeing maybe 60-mile-an-hour winds. It's more in a cluster here. We'll have to watch still for, again, northwest Leon and areas further back into toward Gadsden and some of those spots, because you just never know. You see those, some of the winds going up down there, and those are not really accurate. So that could be kind of telling us a false story then. I mean, we may have some gustier winds here at times, don't get me wrong. We saw that there was a gust of 40 earlier, but some of these numbers would be indicative of closer to 60, which would be kind of unlikely here outside of heavier rainfall. I mean, maybe gust to 40, but 60 would be unlikely. Just trying to see what else is happening here again. When we're not on the air, you can go to color.com/radar. At this point, I think, can't guarantee it. We thought earlier and didn't, we weren't able to. But I thought we would be able to kind of wrap it up, but we ended up needing to stay on because there was weather that was dangerous, and we did have some damage there toward Colquitt, toward Irwin, toward Berrien counties. I know. Let me go ahead and pull up a map real quick of a covered area, just so you guys, you might, in North Central Florida, you might be wondering where are those counties, because we aren't that close to them, but I cover 62 counties here. And I'm going to show you guys where we're talking here, where some of the wind damage was. Might even take the power out of the map just in preparation in case we don't come back on for a while here with coverage. But again, so we're talking about toward Berrien, we're talking about toward Irwin, we're talking about toward areas there around Colquitt, and we're talking even, I mean, stuff was trying to get into toward Coffee County there. We were watching that on the radar. I haven't seen any reports there, but you kind of get the idea where we're talking here in general. So again, that's kind of your map there. Kind of the map of where this action's been this afternoon, as we've been tracking it for you here in the Weather Center. Even Terrell, you see that's out toward north and west a little bit, but again, we're going to continue to track the situation. The warning hadn't gone away yet, but there's now a significant weather advisory here in play further on off toward the west. Let's go ahead and pop this one up here. We should see that it kind of change on us here in a moment. Update. You do see some winds showing up all of a sudden a little bit stronger on the south end here. That could be an issue, but let's see what they're going with. They went with gust of 50. Of course, so the winds want to try to come back on us all of a sudden, all right, when they do that. But an odd situation to say the least, with things kind of coming and going here on us. Let me take the power added numbers, see if there's anything too impressive. Here in toward South Georgia. There are a lot of outages, Roy, in the state at large, 43,103. Let's just go ahead and see what we're doing with here on our power outage.us map right now. Let me go ahead and show you guys what we're talking about. Bear with me here. Let me go ahead and pull that on up. And again, it's a one-man band, so sometimes we're not able to pull things up too quick, but you can see here, Thomas County 253 customers, Cook 55, Berrien 451, Irwin 71, Ben Hill 67. We see a lot of them up further north, Lawrence County, inside of our area, of course, but 4,395. Johnson County 1,482, Wilkinson 256, Washington nearly 2,000 there in Georgia, Emmanuel over 1,000, and even in northwest Georgia seeing some stronger winds become an issue there, it looks like as well. So causing some power outages in toward that vicinity. So we just have to be kind of keeping our tabs on things. Now, there's not a tornado warning in South Carolina, so let me go ahead and pop that up. It's for parts of Greenville County as well as Pickens County. This is northwest of Greenville, and really isolated storm coming into play here. So let me go ahead and see you guys what we're talking about from a national perspective now. You can see we are seeing some rotation with that hook one there, and then wow, that's a lot more impressive than what we've really seen on radar here today. But look at that, 86 miles an hour. And looks like right now, I mean, this isn't as populated as it could be because some of these areas are real populated to the south. But still could be headed toward Travelers Rest there, South Carolina over the next little bit. And eventually it does get a lot more populated. So I'll have to watch that downstream later on from that national perspective with winds there. Maybe we have to see one tornado getting down toward the surface there from the national perspective. That's a tornado warning for Greenville and Pickens counties until 4:45. So again, getting back down toward the south though right now. Again, trying to keep you guys advised of the situation. We are seeing some stronger pixels in here now, of course. Granted, it may be kind of giving us a false reading because of what we're seeing to the south. So they may not pull the trigger, but they definitely could. It's just whatever radar operator kind of thinks here. I mean, we're actually seeing it on the other radar too now, though. That's an issue. Possibly looking at it over there. Because we're seeing it on both views, but granted, we're still maybe getting some bad returns here in some spots on the radar. So that's something you kind of have to bear in mind too. So just have to kind of keep your eyes on everything at large. And I'm just going to go back to South Carolina real quick while we're kind of just making sure we don't get a warning again here locally. But let's just see if this is a debris signature here. I want to go ahead and show you. So the tornado would probably be, or at least wind damage, be right in there in general. So let's see if we're getting some lowered CC values. Yeah, we are. So there could be a tornado in there, or at least some wind damage is kind of apparent. Let's go to the high resolution version of this. Let's go to super res. Might get a better view. That looks like something there. That could be info, I guess, but let's just double check. Look at the structure of this. Yeah, it could be. I guess it could be inflow, but I don't really think so. That looks too far south to me. That looks like a tornado on the ground. I'm not under chat or anything, so I know that's the GSP office there, but that's something to watch there in parts of South Carolina. I'm not 100% sure, but that's something that they're monitoring very carefully in towards South Carolina this afternoon. So again, just making sure we don't get another warning, because I hate to jump off and then jump back on, because I might as well just kind of stick with you for thinking they could issue another warning on us pretty quick. Just kind of curious here. I know there's a marine warning they just issued. I'm just trying to see what's going on there. Just seeing what's happening. Again, checking everything here. Trying to find out what's going on here. Some folks talking about how there could be a debris signature on that storm in South Carolina. Not certain though. Just trying to see what's going on. Let me just zoom out again. I think we may wrap it up pretty soon. I just hate wrapping it up if we aren't certain here. I mean, we're never going to be really certain in some of these environments, but just hate to go off and then have to come back on 10 minutes later. Okay, they're telling us in the chat now. This is what I was starting to think, that a severe thunderstorm warning may be needed here again soon. So let's go ahead and check this. I mean, unfortunately, because I would get it closer toward Leon. So let me go ahead and look at this. You can see some brighter colors now. At 67 miles an hour. That's probably going to need a warning then. Because of where that's located, and that's headed toward Leon. Unfortunately, you think these storms are going to pulse down, and they pulse right back up again. It's a very interesting environment here. You generally don't see them fall off this much and then pulse back this much, but we're seeing that today here in the Weather Center. So it looks like we're going to need a new warning here in short order. So let's kind of trace this out to see where this may be headed. Granted, it may not hold together, as long as we think it would. But let's go ahead and just kind of look at this here. I mean, just trace this out. I would take it into Tallahassee in theory here as we're tracking this. So let's see what the movement is. I mean, I'll check their official statement here. East at 20 miles an hour. So let's see. So 20 miles an hour. Still could be over an hour from Tallahassee. I mean, that could be an hour and a half if it's moving that slow. Which is crazy the way these storms have been moving today. Dumping some rainfall for sure. So you got to keep that in mind. I know we haven't seen all that flooding in Oklahoma. Nothing like that expected around here, but still some heavy rain. I mean, look at that rain. That's a lot of rain here, folks. That's over 5 inches of rain there. This is just on the edge there of the area, but nonetheless, over 5 inches of rain here. That's a lot of precipitation. Luckily, that hadn't fallen over the metro Tallahassee, for instance, but still, you can see how that lightning, this is really kind of strengthening on us. Again, it could go away real quick, and then maybe they wouldn't have to issue the warning, but I feel like probably already got that warning coming at this point because it's held together long enough, that wind potential. I mean, we've kind of stalled here for a few minutes on this, and it's really looking a little bit stronger here still as we're looking out there toward County Road. It looks like County Road 20, so just going to continue to watch things here carefully. Let me go back over once again to our other radar mode. I know we're going between some different things here. State Road 20, I should say, I apologize, but just getting used to some of those new things showing up here on our other source. But again, I'm talking about State Road 20 there, in toward that area. But again, going to continue to watch the situation carefully. I just hate to go off when we don't have a situation. And okay, we don't have a situation where we can kind of give you that all clear. Now the beep was for them clearing some counties out of the tornado watch. So let me go ahead and say, guys, that this is the current view. The seconds ago, that's what it looked like. That you see some of those yellow areas cleared out toward the north and west. Again, you might be wondering, why am I still on here? There's no warnings. Well, it's because we think we could get a new severe thunderstorm warning for parts of the Leon County area, at least. Maybe not quite in the metro. We'll see, because again, the movement looked a little sluggish, but tornado watch till 7 does continue. Haven't had any tornado warnings. We had quite a few thunderstorm warnings and had quite a bit of action there at times trying to produce severe thunderstorm conditions. So again, just trying to see what's going on here with the updates from the Storm Prediction Center, the Weather Service. I know, again, there's a pretty wide line there of that wind damage and a path there in South Florida this afternoon. I haven't seen anything that necessarily would suggest it was tornado damage. Granted, I have been on the air most of the afternoon, so I'm just to see if there's any pictures or anything crazy on social media that might make us think it could have been something different. But let me go ahead and go through here real quick. Just try my best here to kind of glance through some of this while we're on the air. And they have just gone with a warning now. That's what I was thinking they were going to do. So I don't see any pictures right off. But here's a new warning popping on up here in short order for parts of Gadsden, Leon, and Liberty now. Gadsden, Leon, and Liberty until 5 o'clock. So there it is. And guess what? This is getting closer, at least, toward Tallahassee proper than some of the other ones have gotten. They have included the airport in this, for instance. So severe thunderstorm located 11 miles south of Greensboro, 15 miles east of Blountstown, moving east of 55. I know earlier in Cook County, Georgia, just got a report in out of there around Staunton. Roof damage there at Rebels Road and Bobby Road. 2 homes damaged. Even some trees down there. Not what you want to hear, pecan trees, whatever you want to call those, down as well. So causing some issues there. As we look at rotation tracker, that's probably a false signature to the north there, but let me double check. Let me just double check our mode here, make sure we're not missing anything. Yeah, it's a false signature to the north, but of course the winds toward the west are not false. And let me go ahead and switch back on over here. Switch back on over toward radar scope to keep you guys advised. Again, you can see here 55, 58 miles an hour. We're seeing the winds now coming toward the picture here. Just got to be mindful of what can happen as we look toward midway over the next little bit. Some of this kind of pushing that way more than anything. So just going to have to kind of keep our eyes on that This warning does include areas there around Midway, also getting in toward Havana, Quincy, parts of Tallahassee, Lake Talquin there, Hosford, Fort Braden, Wetumpka, Bloxham, Lowry, and Sadie Rest. So, gotta just be mindful of what can happen here in this type of situation. As we look at some of these winds, of course, now they look like they've calmed down just a little, but that's still a pretty strong signature. I mean, it was showing 64 a moment ago, but still showing winds here to about 58, which is the severe criteria in Hosford. So, severe thunderstorm conditions potentially occurring there right now. And looking off, we're getting a new scan in, actually looking a little bit broader and weaker here now, down to 56, maybe 57 miles an hour, which would get us just below severe criteria, but keep in mind we're looking above the surface, so the winds could be a little or weaker or a little stronger at the actual surface itself. So again, 426 right now, another severe thunderstorm warning, a unique situation. Keep getting some of these same areas under warnings here over and over, but then not really getting it in toward Tallahassee proper after all this time. But I mean, we were talking about earlier, we thought some of this would come into Tallahassee, but things are not what they generally seem. They would be here in a setup where you have severe weather potential. You just have to kind of remain on guard here in this type of situation. So, again, a new warning now, some of the worst of the wind. Let's get down to street level. I'm talking about, it looks like State Highway 65. Getting over toward northeast Granny, I'm trying to get the road here, Granny Annie Road, there on Hosford, Chester Street there. So you kind of get the idea as we get down the street level mapping where some of the stronger winds could be severe in nature. So you see Midway and North Fleet in the polygon now. Again, it's a severe thunderstorm warning until 5 o'clock. So 60-mile-an-hour winds and also some of that quarter-size hail could be possible. As we actually, they're only going, looks like 3/4 of an inch. The hail isn't as big of a threat with this, but some of these warnings had that earlier. You see where the upscale growth could be, though, off toward the east, a little bit right on that edge. So maybe you get some more development out that way, closer in here toward some of these different roads, like Hopkins Landing Road. So we have to continue to watch all that. Again, looking toward Tallahassee later on, potentially, or North Tallahassee, as this warning does go to 5 o'clock. But again, we've seen the pattern. Things come and go. We're going to keep watching. We're going to keep tracking. We're going to go just past 4:30 and then take another break here in the coverage for a little bit, unless something ramps up on us. We meet the microphone while we're standing on the stream here. Things just don't want to quit on us here this afternoon with this severe weather potential. They look like they're calming down, and they ramp right back up again over and over. We've seen that here several times. We think, well, maybe we're going to wrap things up, and then it doesn't turn out that way. Unfortunately, things ramp up just enough for you to stay with you to protect you, your friends, and your family here on this Friday. So, again, let's take off the watch, put on the outlook. That threat overall has been reduced, but still there. Got to keep watching, got to keep tracking. You see some of the cloud tops here. This is a little more apparent than some of them we've seen today. You see the colder cloud tops indicative of stronger activity, even some of that in far northern Leon County, but it's just always kind of interesting to keep tabs on here for sure as we continue to watch the situation. Again, the yellow area is a tornado watch until 10 o'clock, or till, 7 o'clock, and the thunderstorm watch in the pink, that's until 10 o'clock tonight. So we still got to remain aware of the weather situation. I know the threat's going to be lasting here into the night. There's still that marginal risk here all the way down state and toward Orlando and Tampa and toward those overnight early morning hours. So we'll have to continue to monitor the progress of things here in the weather center. I know the tornado threat really not supposed to exist as we get further down, and more of a wind and hail threat at this point, it seems, but and more probably wind and hail, even just based on the overall scenario that we're dealing with here locally. Generally, that's more the dominant threat is we keep on getting the information in from the Weather Service. I know there's that one tornado warning in South Carolina right now. Right now, there's the one severe thunderstorm warning in our area for parts of Leon, Liberty, Gadsden until 5. We'll be back here at about 5. Unless we can break back in earlier with a tornado warning or something more. I'm going to wrapping on up on us. Something really standing out. We'll come back on sooner, but maybe at 5, things will have wound down and lightened up. We're going to be able to drop this warning, but we're going to turn the sound down for now. So the thunderstorm warning for parts of Gadsden, Leon, and Liberty until 5 o'clock here. Now, rush hour commute could be impeded some here As we're watching, I'll look at velocities one more time. You can see around Hosford there, 59 miles an hour showing up, but some of these other areas are a little more bright in nature, closer to 50. But that could be something to watch as we get closer toward Midway and North Fleet over the next little bit. We'll keep you guys advised here with the very latest. I'll go ahead and leave it on this view for now as we continue to provide you with the very latest updates from the Weather Service and the Doppler radar technology. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center about 4:45, 4:46 here on this Friday. An evening commute in store here for some of you, and toward the Big Bend it could be problematic, especially toward Tallahassee now, where a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. So coming on before 5 here. We're going to stick with this for a while now. This cut pushes right on through Tallahassee during rush hour, during that evening commute. The worst of the wind still toward the west right now. I know we've been tracking things for a while here. I've been on for 3 hours, the better part of 3 hours here. This stream's been on for a little over that. And we've been giving you guys that latest coverage here to protect you, your friends, and your family. The worst of the winds right now are on Blountstown Highway in this lighter green color. So let me go ahead and put our mouse on the screen here. You can see what we're talking about here. Talking about winds around 45 to 55 miles an hour. So and up, we did get a gust of 41 around Lake Talquin in Gadsden County about 12 minutes ago, and this is moving right in toward Tallahassee here, maybe more in toward town and even northern side, maybe right in toward downtown even. It has weakened a little. Granted, that could just be, according to the radar, it's weakened. That could just be a matter of it getting closer to the radar and seeing the winds lower down to the surface being not quite as strong as they look like further off. So you just never know. It looks like it has weakened here in some of these latest scans here, of course, as we kind of get closer. And that actually really does look like it's weakened even more so down to 40. But again, it could just be an issue of the radar actually getting a better reading on what's going on. It could just be that the winds are more likely around 40 versus 60 there, down toward the surface. So again, we have to keep our eyes on that, our minds on that here. Keep that all in mind on this Friday. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our Florida 501 cameras now. They're not maybe in the worst of the weather, but let's just go ahead and have them up because that evening commute is going to be treacherous, folks. So for some of you, I mean, even with this, the rain and the lightning here and a little bit of wind, obviously severe winds make it even more dangerous there down toward the south. Down towards some of the different areas that we're tracking, like around State Road 20. So they're continuing to warn it right now. They're warning to the west until 5. But that's really a thing with nomenclature because the threat continues to at least 5:30 here with the other warning in play for parts of Gadsden and Leon here. So we just have to kind of be mindful of what can happen. Be mindful of the situation that we're dealing with here. A nasty afternoon. I know we have some cameras towards State Road 20, but we don't actually have necessarily live views on them. So I want to go to some live views here, and that's what we'll do here in about 30 seconds or so. Try to give you guys the best vantage point on what's happening here with the storms. And give you guys the very latest information to protect you, your friends, and your family here. I'm going to go ahead and see what we got out on I-10, a little bit further off toward the west here. Let me go ahead and load this one up now. This is going to be a little bit further off toward the west on I-10, but we'll go ahead and take our severe thunderstorm warning information off for now. Those are your precautions, of course, to take in this type of situation. And when thunder roars in any type of situation, just be really careful, obviously. But let's go ahead and pull up the traffic system full screen. We'll see you guys what's happening here. We'll show you guys what is going on. And then we'll go ahead and kind of give you guys that super there on the screen as well. It's from Florida 511, our camera network here. You don't see a lot happening. Again, the worst of the wind looks to be just toward the south here. We don't have those live views necessarily, but we're going to keep looking for them here and keep you guys up to date on what we see. So that's one of the views there in the ward areas. And it looks like more toward Gadsden County, or right on that line between Gadsden and Leon, but just trying to see what we're getting on some of these different perspectives here. Got another camera to pop up just a little bit further off toward the east here on I-10, so let's go to it now. We'll see you guys what we're dealing with, see you guys what we're talking about here, give you guys the very latest. You can see what's happening. That's the perspective we're dealing with right now with the cars. I mean, you gotta be careful. They could hydroplane here. You see some of these here. You just gotta be careful. Gotta slow down in these type of scenarios here. That wet ground. I mean, wet pavement, obviously, wet road, and the oils on the road can cause things to be kind of slick. Because we did have that warning canceled out for Liberty County, but still going for parts of Gadsden and for Leon counties here until the 1 to 5, but in the other one's till 5:30 for parts of Gadsden and Leon. So again, that's another perspective here. Let me go ahead and move away from this for now. Go ahead and punch up the other viewpoint. Just trying to see what else is happening here. Not seeing a lot on the camera again. I think the worst is just to the south of some of these cameras, but just trying to see what I'm gathering, what I'm viewing. This might be a little bit, well, that one's not working at the moment because the weather's too bad, and some of these areas could be knocking them out because some of these aren't actually coming up. But let's move it over a little bit further. It looks like, let's pop this one up. I'm going to pop this one up right now. Maybe it's been windy here. It looks like maybe one of the signs maybe down here. So let's go ahead and pop this one up. Could just be from another cause, obviously, but look over here. This sign, I'm not sure if it's to be laying like that or not. It may just be a sign they put up later on, but again, it's something to kind of keep in mind here. With the weather, obviously, the roads are just slick out there. You just got to take it easy here as we're looking out toward this Florida 511 perspective here in the Florida Big Bend. So, again, let me go away from this. Just trying to give you guys more views of the situation. I know it seems like the radar might be a little bit off on our other mode. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit behind on this mode because let's go to this one. This is more dramatic than anything we've shown you so far. Definitely. It's moving a lot quicker than the other radars showing. Look at this wind here, folks. This is really picking up toward mile marker 197 now. This is definitely more dramatic than what we've been seeing. The radar I was running behind, it looked like on the Florida 511 map there. As we're really seeing this accent a little bit windier here. So let's kind of be careful on the roads. And we're also going to try to be careful here and trying to catch up to some of this right now on the camera perspective. So let me go ahead and see if we can kind of get some more of these further upstream, downstream, whatever you want to call it. Let's see if I can get a good one here. Monroe, maybe? This is interesting. It zoomed in kind of tight. Let's go ahead and show it to you anyway. Closer to mile marker 199 now. Again, stuff's coming in quick. I mean, this stuff's really accelerating. That can push the wind down to the surface and cause some issues here toward Tallahassee. This is that view Monroe Street, I-10, pretty much toward mile marker 199. You saw a car kind of pass, and no, it's not. Maybe you zoomed out as good as it could be, but you kind of get the idea here. I'm going to continue to watch all that, obviously. Let's move away, though. Continue to watch things, see if I can find some more cameras here that are a little bit more helpful in this type of scenario. I have one zoomed out in this area, so let's go to it. Let's go to this one now. This is going to be part of the cameras that we're going to see as well. You can see the viewpoint there. Definitely could be seeing some issues. Just got to be careful. So that's thunderstorm warning for the Tallahassee area here. I mean, the worst may be to the south we saw in velocity, but look at the camera's shake. Look at the camera's shake here right now toward mile marker 199 into Ward, Tallahassee. And this stuff's really blasting on through quick. I mean, this is really picking up speed. I mean, we've had stuff kind of go around Tallahassee, not really want to push in, and all of a sudden now we're just getting to all come right through at once. And that's causing some issues more than likely. Probably seeing some power outages here in some of these spots. So let's go ahead and go back onto the Doppler. Again, this is really pushing through quick here, my friends. So let's go ahead and, wow, this is just coming through quickly now. Some of this activity here. I mean, some of the stronger winds could still be back here a little bit closer to the west. Let's see what our wind gauge is showing us. I'll put that on to see if we get an update. It might give us one number and then change on us, possibly. I see a gust of 29 up to the north there from a little while ago. Just trying to give you guys the very latest, obviously. Look at all that heavy rain, though. I mean, that's really coming down during an evening commute. These winds might not be as strong, but still 30, 40 mile an hour winds toward the north can be an issue. I mean, can't write a gust of 60 in there somewhere. We'll be getting reports probably over the next few minutes if we have issues toward the airport sensor and the FSU campus and things like that. There's some sensors out there that should give us some updates. Well, there's some stations. We should start to see that populate here in the chat if we're really getting those stronger winds. But still, a tough evening commute now toward Tallahassee, toward that area, toward the capital city of Florida. Severe thunderstorm warning until 5:30. Really having that evening commute impeded now on this Friday. The last thing you probably want to think about is the weather here. You're wanting to spend that weekend doing something maybe enjoyable for that Mother's Day coming up. But right now, if you're in Tallahassee, you got to get through this weather. Now, granted, as I zoom out, I have a feeling this could be kind of pushing out the worst of the weather toward areas eastward as we look ahead in the timeline. Some of this still could come on in, but hopefully we'll start to see this kind of shift on off. I'll go back earlier and you kind of look now. Hopefully we can kind of get this away from Tallahassee and we don't get more rounds to try to come on in. But we'll continue to watch things. Hopefully we'll get them out of the watch here a little early, even toward Leon County. But again, this is coming down right now in Tallahassee, Florida. Florida State University, FAMU, TCC, kind of get the idea. The airport is coming down in buckets. The water is from the rain clouds, from the storms here this afternoon. So I just gotta continue to track things. See some lightning, maybe not as much lightning as you would think on that mode, but I think that's underdoing it. The other mode is showing more lightning here. You're able to see what we're talking about. Definitely see more lightning. Some of it's in that occasional fashion, so not as much maybe as you see in a typical summertime storm, but still something to kind of keep in mind. You see the thunderstorm watch, by the way, toward Baker and Columbia and Duval and Nassau and Charlton and Camden and Glen and Ware until 10. This tornado watch in the yellow is until 7. And again, we have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings really for one area of this line coming through Tallahassee, coming through that main FSU area. Going to be coming by the mall there. Going to be coming by some different areas of Tallahassee over the next little bit. We just got to be mindful. I know FSU baseball, they're on the road. So that's not going to be an issue here as we're looking toward this area for any rainfall impeding their game from this act, since that's good. They're up at Boston College for their weekend series. But now we'll continue to watch things, obviously. I know watching some other sports here. FSU softball, there are issues for that. It looks like their game will now start at 6 due to the weather. And actually playing in North Carolina, but they're still having weather issues up there as well. As I kind of just glanced at Twitter real quick, I think they're done with their home games, but they're playing at 6 there, at least maybe even later than that up at Raleigh against the Wolfpack NC State. So again, gonna continue to watch things. Going to continue to track things within the Doppler radar algorithms. Let me go back on over. Our significant tornado parameters up some, but we don't have as much accent up there. There is some accent out of our area north of Cordele, so something they might have to watch up there later on. But as we get down toward the south here, we still have to watch the Doppler radar scan by scan here. As you see that heavy rain coming down in Tallahassee right now, we go between the 2 radars and go back to the main one. But again, we're almost at 5 o'clock now. Thanks for sticking with me this afternoon into the evening. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud, trying to keep you guys safe and informed here. As we do have some severe weather moving on through, causing some power outages here and there, causing some damage in Georgia. We've been seeing that here within our Doppler algorithms. We've also seen the reports come in here as well. So you just got to bear all that in mind. Again, trying to keep you guys abreast of the situation. So you're right over the radar right now. We probably will get a reading in soon from the Tallahassee airport on what type of wind they're receiving. If it's not as strong as maybe the Weather Service is thinking, they could end up dropping this warning. But there's your wind report right there, right on cue, folks. Gusts to 39 miles an hour. And obviously some spots could be getting stronger winds than that. So I mean, trying to look at this here, seems like it kind of weakened, but we're looking lower down. It's hard to see if that's the strongest part or not. I'm sure they'll keep the warning here at this point through Tallahassee, and then if we don't get the type of gust maybe they're expecting, then they might reevaluate and drop it further on off. This is the only warning in town, only game in town right now. So that's the good news at least. But we still have other storms we'll be watching here. The threat's not over. We have quite a few tornado warnings though up toward North Carolina, and that general vicinity now. It seems like that threat's kind of maximized more up there today. You see 3 red boxes in North Carolina, 1 northwest of Raleigh, northeast of Greensboro, getting closer toward Yanceyville there. This is a tornado warning for southeastern Caswell County and north central North Carolina. And we have a tornado warning here as we get over toward eastern North Carolina. This is for Washington and Martin counties until 5:30. And then another tornado warning for Perkins as well as Bertie counties there as well. So we're getting some other areas involved too, but you kind of get the idea. And then areas up toward parts, it looks like of Virginia. We have a tornado warning around Bristol, Virginia right now. So pretty highly populated area in that general vicinity, at least. As we check for rotation, you see it was stronger maybe a little earlier on. This one not too strong on this mode, but you just never know. Gotta watch those local affiliates, and then you see some stuff off toward the east, and we'll continue to keep our eyes on that national perspective here. Let's get back down to the south. We got to just get some reports in on the wind. Looks like gust of 40 there as we got off the coast of McCulloch County. Gust of 45 there, Lake Talquin. A gust of 41 in Franklin, and another gust of 40 there in Franklin. So some different reports coming in. Nothing to severe criteria necessarily measured. But again, we've already had damage reports to the north. You just never know what can happen in these setups. It seemed like we had for a little while some significant wind speeds that were reaching down to the surface in a path there in Berrien County earlier on. So you got to keep that in mind. As you see here again, that gust of 39 right there at the airport toward the radar. We'll just kind of see what the radar trends give us here this afternoon. Again, we haven't had any tornado reports despite that threat that we had, which is obviously a good thing, but we got to keep our eyes on everything. We got to stay vigilant here just in case things do try to pop up on us. So, again, let me take the power outage number to over 50,000 now in the dark. Let's go over here now. Power outage.us. Let me go ahead and go to the power outage.us map right now. Look at all these outages toward east central Georgia. I mean, my goodness, that's a lot of counties with a pretty decent percentage out. You see 614 customers there, and in Burke County, about 1,700, Jenkins at 900, Emmanuel over 1,300. You see Jefferson 800 there in Georgia, Washington nearly 3,000, Johnson over 1,500, Lawrence over 4,000, Wilkinson 257, Dodge, you get the idea down toward our area. You see Ben Hill at 70, Barron at 451, Cook at 55, and Thomas at 543. I don't think we really had much in the word Thomas in terms of a warning, but just never know. Again, this is the percentages by county, so the darker the colors are in terms of orange, that's a higher percentage. Now, the customers, obviously, the number varies by counties based on population and the customers track. But again, that's the information there from the poweroutage.us map. Back to the operator we go right now. Let's see what that is. That looks kind of interesting. Might be some stronger winds in there. So up closer to the radar side, or it could just be kind of an illusion for us. Could just be an illusion, but it looks like we might be getting some stronger winds in there. Got to stay careful here in that area, as we do have some more. It could even be a downburst signature looking at some other modes of our radar, but I know we're up to 5 tornado warnings now in a national perspective, but we haven't had any in our area today, which we are thankful for. Of course, despite some wind damage and some power outage issues, we've not had any tornado warnings issued by the office there in Tallahassee or Jacksonville. So that's definitely some great news. But back to the national perspective we go as we continue things here. Let's go on over to our GeoEarth map. You can see a new tornado warning here extended off from Bristol. This is for Washington County and southwestern Virginia. That's issued by the Blacksburg office, or actually that's the other warning, I apologize. The Blacksburg office issued that one. Let me double check where I am here, so give me just a second. So it looks like we got a new tornado warning. Okay, this one is for Washington County from the Morristown office. I think I clicked on the thunderstorm warning, something like that. But a new tornado warning for Washington County and southwestern Virginia now from the Morristown office. Let me go ahead and zoom out. See a warning, tornado warning northeast of Greensboro. Again, we're watching that. We're watching a couple warnings in eastern North Carolina as well. And then the overall pattern here, you see the low pressure. I mean, that's even more well defined than earlier. You can really see where the lowest pressures are right now as we get toward parts of Kentucky under 1,000 millibars. And then we have just instability in here as well, and that causes issues. when everything kind of comes together in that regard around that shear. So again, I'll keep our eyes on that. We're getting new updates now in from the Weather Service. So let's go ahead and as you see our wind direction here, those winds kind of helping some regard to give us some more of that more favorable air mass. Could have been worse though, but as we go back on over, getting detail there in the chat, I gotta scroll down because we just got quite a few things in here. They gave us an update of the cluster of storms that are moving across Leon. It's producing periods of lightning, moderate rain, and rather gusty winds. And the cluster is slowly waning, though, but they're going to continue to monitor, and they're still watching off of Bay County. The storms down there, as I see, they just canceled out Gadsden County, but it kept the warning for parts of Leon until 5:30. And then we got a gust of 40 there around FAMU and 46 there on the Macon Community Park area. So gotta be mindful of all that information that we're getting in. So still no gust over 50 recorded with this so far. Granted, probably had gusts quite a bit stronger than that up toward Georgia or Darien County earlier on there, as we were showing you where that was on our map. I'll show it to you guys again if you're just tuning in. You might not know exactly where that is in perspective to the rest of the area. So let me go ahead and show you guys our graphics here. So it's Berrien, that's the east, north of Cook County where Adele is. Berrien is for Nashville. It's not necessarily as much maybe in Nashville, but with the damage per se. But still, that's kind of your general area we're talking. You see Lanier's in there, Eccles, just kind of giving you guys perspective. Lowndes is where Valdosta is. Bradford is where I'm at, and that's where Stark is. So kind of giving you guys a breakdown. And of course, right now we're tracking some bad weather in Leon, where Tallahassee, the capital city, is, and it's home to FAMU, Florida State, and TCC. So, again, let me go ahead and move back on over to our other viewpoint now. Again, the wind reports generally have been under severe limits, which is obviously good. It seemed like we saw a weakening as it came in, but when we're right at the radar light, this is hard to know for sure in short order, at least. Granted, we would get the information in pretty quickly after to know what it ends up doing here. And right now, it seems like it's a strong storm cluster, but maybe not severe in nature. So we'll see what the Weather Service decides to do. Right now, I would think they would just issue a significant weather advisory downstream here. But we've seen that so many times that we think we're going to wrap it up, and then we get another pulse back up again with the storms, and they have to issue a new warning. So you just never know. These storms have been more up and down than you generally see here. I mean, a squall line or even a supercell, I mean, you would see more consistency, but these storms have really been up and down on the scale today. Unusual to see that big of a disparity from one scan to maybe a few scans later here, or at least in the trend line. I mean, you don't generally just keep going up, down, but that's what we've seen here today, and that's what we're continuing to keep our eyes on. So let's look down here. It looked like a little bit higher reflectivity values showing up down here closer toward some of these areas further off toward maybe Fitch Lane, but not seeing a lot of velocity here, which is obviously a good sign, closer to the radar too, but you might wait for it to just get a little further away from the radar to make sure. But you see some are different gusts, 39 Tallahassee, and earlier on we see 17 Quincy, but we actually had 29 there showing up toward Gadsden County as well. And you see some accidents, strong weather maybe, but not severe right now. There'll be some gusty winds over toward Crawfordville over the next little bit, but no advisory for that at the present time. But of course things can change quickly, but that's kind of the latest scan right now here on this Friday. Let's go back to the broad perspective. You see us in a thunderstorm watch here still until 10, and the pink, not much has come in there yet. Okay, we just got a gust just a little higher and a little more noteworthy. Granted, it's delayed, so it may have still been when the storm looks stronger. We did get a gust all the way to 53 miles an hour on Lake Talquin there in Leon County at 4:43. So I did get a little bit stronger winds in there. Still not quite severe, but it is a gust into the 50 plus range there with that update coming in from about 30 minutes ago. That is the national picture. Again, we have a couple tornado warnings there toward Bristol there. You kind of get the idea of what we're tracking. You see a tornado warning northeast of Greensboro, a couple in eastern North Carolina as well. So there's all 5 of them in the red boxes. We're monitoring all that. Tornado watches up there. One of them goes until it looks like about 8 o'clock, the other till 10 o'clock, and then our thunderstorm watch that extends down here goes until 10 o'clock, while the other tornado watch goes till 7. So 7 tornado warnings that we used to, it seemed like a while back, going back to when I was at FSU, we'd have tornado watches. We didn't have tornado warnings, but lately, we've generally, it seems, this kind of the way I'm remembering things here. We've had more in the way of tornado warnings here, and a lot of these events popping up here. We haven't really seen anything become necessarily that close to getting a tornado warning. There were a couple areas we were kind of watching for spin, but there wasn't enough gate to gate. I mean, they did talk about one of the storms there with Tallahassee earlier. That was pretty close actually to getting one, but it didn't quite have the gate to gate where it was a certainty that it needed it, and it never ended up happening, which was good news. Obviously, did get a thunderstorm warning there. At one point, we were watching when things had kind of pulsed back up, but not a tornado warning. So right now, I mean, honestly, there is not a lot here on the radar besides that warning around Tallahassee. I mean, we got more action though. Let's go ahead and track this. I haven't already shown it to you on velocity. Let's see how it looks, because they keep mentioning here in the chat. It's not really impressive, but you never know what could happen out of it. Stuff off of Gulf County there. You do see some velocity values showing up there. Could watch that moving toward that area of Franklin County. And again, you see the stuff toward Tallahassee, but we're looking higher up here on the velocities, and even they're not seeing as much in terms of the wind here at this point. So that's definitely some good news. But let's go to our radar scope computer, showing values a little bit differently here, a different color table. And we'll kind of show you guys what we're dealing with here. You see 40 miles an hour, 45, so a little bit stronger here, showing up, at least possibly above the surface, but starting to see that's kind of emerge a little bit again as we look there, but nothing necessarily to that severe range. Doesn't look organized enough to produce severe winds right now. Can't grow them out, but it looks more like a significant weather advisory situation to me. Again, things have pulsed up and down so much today, though. It could change so quickly here. You just never know. I don't want you to let your guard down by any stretch. As we look up to the north and east, we do see some lightning clustering here, southeastern Thomas County, also toward parts of, it looks like Jefferson County there. You can see what's going on in toward that vicinity. You can kind of see we are getting some brighter velocity values here, 50 miles an hour, give or take up there. Granted, let's see if this, I'm going to check some of the radars. They could be accurate, though. That may be accurate. May start to see some of that get a little stronger there. As you see the brighter reflectivity values, you don't see as much on this velocity. It's not giving as good of a view, but keep your eyes on all that. Back toward south and west Tallahassee, main FSU campus. I know we're getting a report there. Quarter-size hail on the Empine in here. I'm just zooming in really tight, obviously, toward Tallahassee, trying to get perspective. This is Empine, so I won't show up on anything else here, but you kind of see where that is in Tallahassee. Quarter-size hail reported officially a few minutes ago. But again, they're going to go ahead and zoom back on out a little bit now. Zoom back on out. I haven't seen that in the chat, but I'm sure they'll catch on that if they feel comfortable with that there at the Weather Service in Tallahassee reporting that. But again, there may even be some pictures on social media. I haven't had a chance to look last few minutes, but let's see what we're looking at right now. The camera toward the FSU area. Let's pop that up. So this is going to be from last few moments here, 7 minutes ago actually. These are just stills that I have on this, but we don't actually have a live view of this, but this is the last image. You can see it's pretty nasty out there. Not too many people around campus, I wouldn't think. Graduation was last week, and then classes starting back again soon. But that's the viewpoint there right now, Jefferson Street at Woodward Avenue. There, slick road in the ground there. Slick grounds for sure. But again, that's the view there toward FSU from a few minutes ago. Florida 511 perspective there as you're kind of going off, just off campus really, but back over to the one Doppler. That's kind of not the best perspective, so let me go back on over here toward the Earth. See some lightning here down toward the south and east. I'm going to try to switch the radars here again so we can give you the best look here at the lower levels of the atmosphere of the storminess to keep you guys up to date. Once they give us word that they're dropping this, or if they're going with a special weather statement downstream, I think we're going to wrap it up and wrap this stream up for now. And okay, this one was a special weather statement until 6 now for strong thunderstorms that are going to impact parts of northwestern Jefferson and eastern Leon. So no longer a severe thunderstorm threat as much maybe. I mean, the warning hadn't been officially canceled yet, but Maybe it's a stronger storm. Just see what we're looking at here. Of course, now we're starting to see some brighter reflectivity, or excuse me, velocity values here. Again, they're now saying gusts to 50 in this area, so let's go ahead and zoom on in. Actually seeing gusts closer to 55 miles an hour again. They had just canceled a warning for Leon, but maybe up here we're starting to get a little bit of strengthening again. You just never know in this setup, in this environment. Things can keep wanting to ramp down, ramp back up maybe on us, so you just gotta stay aware. I don't think it's quite enough to stay with it though. Looking at our other color table, it's showing 53, 54. I'm gonna look at a trend on this real quick. Yeah, it's still pretty broad right now. It kind of it's broad, so I think it's good still under the warning level. So let me set that to you guys here. Go ahead and see you guys that on radar scope. We'll also kind of play about here with the populations here impacted by these warnings as well. As that tornado watch will be coming to an end at 7, unless there's some type of local extension done. Thunderstorm watch though goes until 10. But again, just keeping our eyes on everything. They are just canceling out some of the watch now and continuing to other areas. So let's go ahead, give you guys that big view again. So we'll see some of those yellow areas, highlighted areas go away now. Next couple seconds on the screen, more than likely. You'll see some of those drop on off here as it is canceled. That area is further off toward the north and west. So we're talking about Doherty. They're no longer in this now. So there it goes. You see those off the board. Also out toward the Panhandle, Holmes, Jackson, Walton, Washington, out of our area. But Baker, Calhoun, Doherty, Early, Lee, Miller, Seminole, and Terrell in our area. But it continues further off to the east. Still got to watch some of that action over the Gulf. They're going to be watching. We're going to be watching things. It's a unique pattern. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up for now, unless we get a warning in the next few seconds as I wrap this up. But got tornado warning toward North Carolina, Virginia. We're watching things here for you. There's still a tornado watch till 7 in the yellow. And in the pink color, a thunderstorm watch till 10. I'll be back here as necessary throughout the rest of the day and even into early tomorrow, as this stuff still could linger around in the word parts of north central Florida. Still, we'll just stay weather aware and make sure you have multiple ways to get alerts. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me. I'll go ahead and leave you with a look here on different platforms rolling. We're always on Facebook with updates, even if we don't come on. Facebook at Casey Cloud WX, Facebook at Casey Cloud WX there, and then at Cloud Weather as well, and then Twitter at Cloud Casey, and then you can search for YouTube, my channel there, meteorologist Casey Cloud. You have Twitch there too, another outlet to keep you guys up to date, and all those links are at cloudweather.com, where you can also find the interactive radar. Just go there and put that website in, and then put cloudweather.com, but then add /radar. So thanks for tuning in and trusting me. Thanks for the coverage, and thanks for trusting me for now.